Chapter 782. The 779th palm, strike, slashed the giant spirit. A fallen saint was resurrected. At the sight of this, Tai Fantasy Sect's head, Tai Xuandu, and Heavenly Dance Fantasy Sect's head, Ji Qingwu, were both excited. Tai Fantasy Sect had its ancestor, Heavenly Lord Tai. Although Heavenly Dance Fantasy Sect didn't have a Heavenly Lord, they had a founder. If all of them were resurrected, not only would their strength increase, but it would also increase their relationship. I didn't expect the ancestor of heaven and earth to be resurrected. This era has really changed. Chang Yuzhou said, I come from the profound heaven and earth sect, and I even have the chance to seize the position of sect master. I know all the secrets of the profound heaven and earth sect, and I also know how frightening they are. The heaven and earth ancestor himself is even more ancient than the immortal master and the 10,000 immortal masters. His scheme is also extremely huge. After so many years of planning, I'm afraid that the profound heaven and earth sect has already coveted the Eastern Wasteland's heart. Once they succeed, they can inject the Eastern Wasteland's heart into the profound heaven and earth sect, and the entire Eastern Wasteland will be under their control. I know all this. Mr. Chang Yuzhou, you've taught me countless secret methods of the heavenly heaven and earth sect. Gu Chensha said, the ancestor of heaven and earth is very strange. There must be a conspiracy. Even if Gu Tiansha, the lord of the sun and moon, tried to resurrect him, it wouldn't be that easy. Gu Tiansha had to unify countless sects in the East Wilderness and make them carry out sacrificial rituals. After a few years, he could resurrect the ancestor of heaven and earth with this sacrificial power. Otherwise, it would be impossible. It took me 3 months of sacrificial power to resurrect you, Mr. Chang Yuzhou. Chang Yuzhou was only at the peak of the saint realm. His embodiment of 36 transformations was far too weak compared to the patriarch of heaven and earth. Therefore, resurrecting Chang Yuzhou did not require much power of worship. However, resurrecting the patriarch of heaven and earth required even Gu Tiansha, the lord of the sun and moon, to do so. That's indeed a mystery. From what I know, the heaven and earth patriarch worked together with the Dharma saint and Wu Dankong. With the help of Wu Dankong's sacrificial talisman, the heaven and earth patriarch was resurrected, Liu Baiwei said. That shouldn't be possible. Even if Wu Dankong has the heavenly sacrificial talisman, he definitely doesn't have the power to resurrect Patriarch Heaven and Earth. Think about it. Even the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, had to unite the Eastern Wilderness mystical sects and hold a sacrificial ceremony. Only after years of accumulation could he be resurrected. Who is Wu Dankong? If he's capable enough to revive the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth, he must be a shield for the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth. There must be a deeper reason behind his revival. Gu Chensha sneered. But that's good. If that's the case, he must be hiding many things from the Dharma Saint, Wu Dankong, Celestial Master, Wan Senshi, and the 3 Celestial Venerables. Then, their alliance will be unstable, and it'll be easy for something to happen. That gives me a chance. It's not just 1 or 2 alliances that I've broken. Every alliance has a loophole. Since there's a loophole, I'll find it with my heavenly law and destroy it completely, causing the original alliance to turn against each other. These big shots have formed an alliance, but they're still missing one person, the Great Spirit God. Heavenly Venerate Martial Saints said, from the looks of it now, the world has been divided into 3 major forces. The Master of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, our tranquil immortal department, and the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth have formed an alliance. But the Great Spirit God is alone. No matter how cunning he is and how high his cultivation base is, he's only at the heavenly longevity realm. With King's current strength, you can completely suppress him. I think Chang Weiyang is probably trapped in the 3 Celestial Venerables' lair. There's the power of the Hongmeng tree inside. I think King should use this opportunity to suppress the Great Spirit God, kill him, and refine him into the divine land bottle gourd. That way, you'll have more power. That's right. The 3 Celestial Venerables have already formed an alliance with Celestial Master, Wan Xinqi, and the patriarch of heaven and earth. It might be a little troublesome to save my daughter now. Even if I manage to save my daughter, I'm afraid that both sides will be heavily injured and the master of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, will gain the upper hand. At that moment, Chang Yuzhou also said, "We're currently in a vacuum of strength. The patriarch of heaven and earth and the others are scheming against each other to refine the endless heart. The master of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, is recuperating from his injuries and recovering his strength. As for the great spirit god, he's too cunning and harmed the sorcerer ancestor, so no one is willing to form an alliance with him anymore. This is our chance. With King's strength, you can suppress the great spirit god and kill this scourge. Speaking of which, there are priorities. Indeed, we need to kill and refine the great spirit god as soon as possible. Otherwise, when he's strong, the master of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, the patriarch of heaven and earth, and the three celestial venerables, Celestial Master, Wan Xinqi, and the others will fight to the death. If that happens, he'll come out to take advantage of us. Who knows, he might be the one laughing in the end." Gu Chincha's eyes shone with killing intent. To him, the great spirit god was still a hidden danger. Furthermore, he was alone. With Gu Chincha's current methods, he could refine the great spirit god. If he could refine Xing Qiongshi, he would naturally be able to refine the great spirit god. Furthermore, after refining Xing Qiongshi into the divine continent gourd, Gu Chincha's strength would increase even more. It was equivalent to the sorcerer ancestor that the great spirit god had devoured. The sorcerer ancestor was inferior to Xing Qiongshi. Both the sorcerer ancestor and Xing Qiongshi were at the heavenly life realm. In terms of strength, the sorcerer ancestor was inferior to Xing Qiongshi. Therefore, after Gu Tiansha cultivated the divine continent gourd, he would definitely be able to suppress and kill the great spirit god. I have many things to do now. Exterminate the devil race, save Wei Yong, kill Jinling, and search for the Dragon Gate and the boundless treasure. Other than that, I have to collect the Permitha golden mountain of the Buddhist sect and fuse it into our little Hongmeng tree. I have to run all over the place. What is the most important thing to do? What can I do in the future? It looks like killing Jinling is the first priority. At the end of the day, this god also has a grudge against me for killing my mother. I have to kill him. He has many secrets on him. After killing him, I can use the divine continent gourd that Xing Qiongshi refined. Gu Qinsha pondered for a moment. At that time, my divine continent gourd will be several times stronger. I won't have to worry about Xing Qiongshi causing trouble. 2 heavenly longevity, realm, heroic souls will be gathered within it. After being converted and worshipped by me, the power will be considerable. There's no time to lose. We can act now. With us overseeing the little Hongmeng tree, there will definitely be no mistakes. After all, we have so many sages and deities, as well as 2 heavenly venerables. Lu Baiyue said, "I'm currently borrowing the energy of the boundless treasure to cultivate. My progress is extremely fast, especially after cultivating the little Hongmeng tree and converting it to Xiantian. In the future, I can also comprehend divergence and become a heavenly venerable." Lu Baiyue's cultivation speed was extremely fast. Naturally, it was also because of her talent and the resources of the Tranquil Immortal Department. The resources that the Tranquil Immortal Department obtained now surpassed even the 3 heavenly venerables. Moreover, she was destined to stand out from the masses. Otherwise, the Heavenly Talisman Emperor wouldn't regard her so highly. Right now, Lu Baiyue's true fate had yet to reveal itself, and her true fortuitous encounter had yet to arrive. Gu Qinsha always felt that there was something blurry that he didn't calculate clearly. The higher his cultivation base, the more he could sense that there was something mysterious in Lu Baiyue's fate. This was the reason why the Heavenly Talisman Emperor, Gu Taxian, was so fond of her. Xing Qiongshi is the king of divergence. His research on the Tao of divergence is extremely profound. Now that I've completely refined him, I've also completely understood what his Tao of divergence is. In fact, in the future, I might even be able to concoct a heaven-defying divergent pill that's even more powerful than his. Right now, Gu Chunsha had yet to comprehend divergence. If he did, his cultivation base would enter a whole new realm. But this was more or less the same. He just needed to perfect some of the details. It wasn't very difficult. As he cultivated his own secret art, breaking through the Tao of divergence would be extremely easy. In addition, his subordinates would also gradually comprehend divergence. At that time, all of them would be divergence. If this was in the past, it would be impossible. But now that the heavenly Tao was weakened, these impossible things could be done by Gu Qinsha. Previously, I devoured the Great Spirit God's palm. Although I've already refined it, there are definitely some restrictions left behind by him. Lu Baiyue said again, "This is self-defeating. This hidden danger will instead become a great opportunity for us to lock onto his residence. However, my strength is still not enough to divine the location of the giant spirit god. That will have to be done by you, Chunsha. That's not a problem. With my strength, even the will of the heavenly world can't suppress me, let alone the great spirit god. In the past, the great spirit god seemed unfathomable. But now, in my eyes, he's only SOSO. Although Gu Chinch's tone was disdainful, he didn't really look down on the great spirit god. Right now, in the entire tranquil immortal division, the only things that could harm and suppress the great spirit god were his own heavenly Tao arts and the divine prefecture gourd. Most importantly, it was one of the divine prefecture. The biggest reason why Xing Qiongshi couldn't use the divine prefecture's power was because he wasn't the ruler of the divine prefecture. He didn't have the destiny to unify the divine prefecture, and secondly, his thinking was wrong. Although Gu Chansha hadn't become the emperor yet, everyone knew that he was the greatest controller of the tranquil immortal division. In reality, he was already the ruler of the divine prefecture. Thus, he was able to use the divine prefecture's power very smoothly. Divine. Gu Chansha opened his palm, and a wave of the divine prefecture's power appeared above Lu Baiyue's head. This divine prefecture's power could evolve the past, the future, and everything. As it spun, an ancient aura seeped into Lu Baiyue's body. Immediately, many of the restrictions in Lu Baiyue's body appeared. However, there was no sign of the great spirit god. It seemed that he really had been refined. You do have some tricks up your sleeve. Gu Qinsha sneered again. The great spirit god once managed Xian province, one of the 99 prefectures of the divine prefecture. For 10,000 years, he permeated the land of Xian province with his faith. Even now, he hasn't gotten rid of the poison, so he has some ways to deal with the divine prefecture's power. But to me, it's still useless. Important notice, please use this site's free app. It has no ads, no errors, and updates quickly. Members are synchronized with the bookshelf. Please follow the official WeChat account. Appsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Download the free reader. Chapter 783. The divine continent is changing. The people are united. The people Tao gathers the spirit, transcends the heavens, and transcends the Tao. Gu Chinch's palms moved again and again, forming a series of seals. These seals were filled with the ultimate truths of mystiques, and they were imprinted with the wisdom and ideals of the people of the divine continent, as well as the will to mend the heavens and reform the heavens. Now, Gu Chansha had fused his Tao of mortal life, mending the heavens, and mortal life, reforming the heavens, and then transmitted it to the people. Many ambitious people among the people began to comprehend these two wills, and those ambitious people cultivated the same spirit. In the eyes of ambitious people, the heavens were not high and mighty. As long as they had ideals and beliefs, they could change the fate of the heavens or mend the heavens. The Tao of man was more precious than the heavens. The value of one's moral character surpassed everything else. This was the true meaning of the Supreme. When Gu Chansha spread these ideals, there was a large group of like-minded people. When the beliefs of these people gathered, they played a critical role in enhancing Gu Chinch's power. Now, Gu Chun-sha activated all of this and could see everything. Even if the great spirit god had the preciousness of the heavenly Tao, he would not be able to escape Gu Chinch's search. Indeed, in an instant, clues appeared in Liu Baiyue's body. A faint shadow suddenly flashed past, like a white steed flashing across a crack. It was very difficult to catch, but in that instant, Gu Chun-sha had already caught it. "Come out." Gu Chun-sha waved his hand, and the shadow struggled and squirmed, but in the end, it was locked down and could not be controlled. It was directly caught and fell into Gu Chinch's palm. Who would have thought, Gu Chun-sha, that your cultivation has actually reached such a level? You can even detect my restrictive magic. What? Do you really want to rely on these clues to find out where I am? Don't even think about it. The shadow seemed to be mocking Gu Chun-sha for overestimating himself. The great spirit god, countless old-timers say that you're crafty and difficult to defeat. You're not the most powerful god, but you're the most adept at seeking fortune and avoiding calamity. You're the most adept at scheming and scheming. Supposedly, you've never been at a disadvantage since you were born, but I don't quite believe it. I have a grudge against you for killing my mother. Do you really think you can flee to the ends of the earth without being hunted by me? I've already refined the Xing Qiong clan, and even Immortal Master Wan, the Immortal Lord, the three celestial sovereigns, and Patriarch Heaven and Earth have formed an alliance to avoid me. Who do you think you are? If you obediently wait for your death, I can let you live and turn you into an ordinary person. As Gu Chun-sha spoke, he calculated at the same time. The reason he said so much was to deliberately infuriate the mighty miracle god and make him reveal an opening. Then, he would look for an opportunity to lock onto the mighty miracle god's position in one go and immediately descend, carrying out the strongest attack with the force of a thunderbolt. Considering how strong he was right now, he could cross vast distances in the blink of an eye and even travel through different space-time dimensions to kill experts. Considering he had assimilated the great spirit god, there were very few people in heaven and earth who could stand up to him. The great spirit god? He's just a brainless person. That's why he fell into your trap. The great spirit god's shadow seemed to be stalling for time, and it was impossible to tell what he was plotting. As the shadow wriggled, it emanated a foul stench, almost as if it were releasing some sort of vicious curse. Not even your old man, Gu Taxian, could do anything to me. Who the hell do you think you are? However, if you want to seek revenge, you're welcome to do so. I'd like to see what you're capable of and what you're relying on. Right now, Gu Taxian can't help you. You should be aware of some crucial points. Ever since you've cultivated to the divine level, the fate energy of your calming immortal department has reached its peak. When it reaches its peak, it will definitely decline. If you even think about coming looking for me, that will be the beginning of the destruction of the celestial calmness department. Perhaps you have no idea what level of existence I am. Gu Tiansha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, is nothing in my eyes. Not even Gu Tiansha understands what I control. You can't even compare to him, and yet you dare to come looking for me? I've never met someone who brags so much, Gu Tiansha said, laughing. The great spirit god, you're not the most cunning, but the best at bragging. Some are bugs anchoring ice. The mighty miracle god's shadow suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a ball of curses. This curse erupted, spreading outwards and covering Gu Chinch's entire body. Moreover, it contaminated the entire dimensional realm and even the little Hongmeng tree. Enjoy this ball of curses. The voice of the mighty miracle god became ethereal and finally disappeared. This curse is a curse born from the Great Desolate Dragon Gate. The Great Desolate Dragon Gate is a great divine weapon that can turn all living things in the world into sages. However, when things reach an extreme, they move in the opposite direction. It can also create a curse that can turn all living things in the world into fools and idiots. You imparted the human dragon fist to everyone in the Celestial Calmness Department to become sages. In that case, you have violated the authority of the Great Desolate Dragon Gate and will definitely receive the strongest curse since ancient times. Not good. Emperor Martial Sage was shocked. He could already see how powerful this curse was. This curse had indeed been born from the Great Desolate Dragon Gate. The Great Desolate Dragon Gate itself was a heaven-defying existence. Thinking about it, the aptitude of all living beings in the world was destined. If everyone's aptitude could become saints, wouldn't that mean that they would have to bear an extremely strong karma and curse? This curse had been accumulated in the Great Desolate Dragon Gate for a long time. It could even contaminate the divine tool and cause it to fall. However, for some unknown reason, some of it had been obtained by the Great Spirit God and used to attack the Celestial Commerce Department in Guchen Sha. Heavenly Master Marshall Saint's vision was brilliant. He could naturally see how powerful this curse was. If this curse touched his body, it would immediately strip him of everything and turn him into an ordinary person. Even a heavenly master wouldn't be able to resist it. This was a curse that had been accumulated in the Great Desolate Dragon Gate for countless years. Not to mention a heavenly master, even a heavenly longevity realm cultivator wouldn't be able to resist it. This ball of curse energy began to spread. If it was allowed to spread, then everything within the dimensional realm of the common people's wish sphere would immediately fall. The little Hongmeng tree would also wither and dissipate into nothingness. The huge Celestial Commerce Department would collapse at this moment, no longer existing. No one had expected that the Great Spirit God would actually plant such an ambush in Liu Baiyue's body. The cancer and curse of the Great Desolate Dragon Gate were much more terrifying than the attacks of Wan Senshi and the three heavenly venerates. This was because even the Great Desolate Dragon Gate's main body couldn't withstand this cancer and curse. It had to be released. Unfortunately, the Great Desolate Dragon Gate's main body couldn't do anything. But now the Great Spirit God had used some unknown method to actually draw out this curse. This meant that the Great Spirit God had started to cure the Great Desolate Dragon Gate and save this divine tool. This divine tool would naturally give him great authority and might. Gu Chunsha had suspected that Gu Tanjian was relying on the Great Spirit God to obtain so much qi of the Sacred Dragon. One had to know that the qi of the Sacred Dragon could turn a fool into an innate sage. It wasn't that easy to obtain. If it was really that easy, people like Wan Senshi, the Immortal Master, and the three heavenly venerates would have long obtained it and nurtured their subordinates into innate sages. Not to mention anything else, just the power of worship would be thousands of times stronger. One had to know that the purity of the power of worship produced by the worship of an innate sage was something that even 100 million commoners couldn't compare to. Perhaps the power of worship produced by 100 million commoners was slightly greater than that of an innate sage. However, the purity of the power was like rubble and gold. Even 10,000 kilograms of rubble couldn't compare to 1 kilogram of gold. Martial Sage, Heavenly Venerate, there's no need to panic. Gu Chunsha looked at the erupting curse, and his expression didn't change. I didn't expect the Great Spirit God to have such a method. However, it's still within my control. I dare say with certainty that even the Immortal Master and Wan Senshi wouldn't be able to withstand this curse. However, I'm different. What the Primeval Dragon sect wants to do is what I want to do. I'm willing to bear his curse. My original intention was to let everyone in the world become a true dragon, and everyone become a true sage. Only then can we eliminate all barriers and realize the unity of all living beings. Therefore, let this sin belong to me alone. I'm willing to bear this kind of karma and sin. As he spoke, Gu Chench's voice became louder and louder. It was as if he had triggered some kind of power in the unseen world. He made a great wish. Let all the sin belong to him. Let all the karma be added to him. What his great wish triggered was an indestructible, magnificent belief and great emotion. For the sake of all living beings in the world, he was willing to bear all the sin and karma. This great wish was earth-shattering. It transcended time and space, transcended fate, resonated with heaven and earth, and grieved with the universe. All the curse started to gather towards him. In the end, it condensed into a rune seed and entered his body. It fused with his body and became inseparable. Shinshayu, Lu Baiwe, jumped up violently. This curse can harm the primeval dragon sect. You actually absorb it all? It's fine. This is the sin of the heavenly Tao against the primeval dragon sect. The existence of the primeval dragon sect is sinful to the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao judged him guilty, but I judged him innocent. The sin of the heavenly Tao, in my opinion, is not a sin, but a merit. Therefore, I absorb this curse to cultivate and turn the sin of the heavenly Tao into my own merit. This is the ability to defeat the will of the heavenly Tao. I've defeated the will of the heavenly realm. Now, I'm going to defeat the will of the heavenly Tao. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. My heart surpasses the will of the heavens, and the heart surpasses the Tao heart. The heavens cannot judge me guilty, but I can judge the heavens for being immoral. This is the essence of my cultivation technique, and also the essence of our calming immortal department. In the future, we will spread this philosophy. 2. Tyrannical. Heavenly Venerate Martial Saint sighed. Looks like I didn't misjudge you. You are indeed a person who can bring us into a brand new era. The Great Spirit God is indeed not as simple as he seems on the surface. He hides something even deeper. I know why the sorcerer ancestor fell into his trap. This is the reason. However, I'm looking forward to the confrontation with him even more. If I can suppress him and rescue Wei Yong, killing the 3 heavenly venerates will be as easy as flipping my hand. Gu Qinsha's body swayed as he chased after the mighty miracle god. Author's notice, please use the app to read. It's free and ad-free. Please follow the official WeChat account. Appsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Install the client. Chapter 784. By now, Gu Qinsha had a deeper understanding of the Great Spirit God's methods. The curse this time was a weakness of the Great Spirit God. The Great Spirit God's curse this time was nothing short of ferocious. If it had succeeded, it would have been able to destroy the Calmness Immortal Bureau in one fell swoop. At the very least, aside from Gu Qinsha, no one could resist this curse. Even if it was Gu Qinsha, in the eyes of the other old-timers, he would still suffer a great deal of damage to his vitality. But who could have guessed that Gu Qinsha's cultivation base had reached the point where the sins of the heavenly Tao were no longer sins, but rather merit? You could say that the curse the Great Spirit God had extracted from the Yorwild's Dragon Gate was not a powerful curse to Gu Qinsha. Instead, it was a great nourishment and merit. In other words, the blessing of this sin on Gu Qinsha would allow Gu Qinsha to better understand the Tao of heaven mending and the Tao of heaven reformation. Gu Qinsha now stored the curse and sin in his body, slowly transforming them. As he tempered himself, he felt that his magic power had become much purer. The curse could not cause any harm to his cultivation at all. Instead, it would increase his lethality, cultivation level, and lethality. This was like giving him a great tonic. Another sin is my merit. Therefore, after tasting the benefits, he decided to immediately go and search for the mighty miracle god and raging desolate dragon gate. He wanted to devour all the sins within. That way, all the sins of raging desolate dragon gate would belong to him, which would give him hope of breaking through to the saint realm without the help of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha. Not only that, but he could also help the Yorwild's Dragon Gate eliminate its sin and establish a good relationship with them. He could get them to abandon the Great Spirit God and strip the Great Spirit God of everything he relied on. The Great Spirit God definitely had a close relationship with the Yorwild's Dragon Gate, which was why he could be so arrogant. However, no one could find the exact location of the untainted desolate dragon sect. Actually, the 3 great treasures, the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman, the Desolate Dragon Gate, and the Primordial Chaos Tree, were all very difficult to find. The Heaven Sacrificial Talisman chose its own master, while the Desolate Dragon Gate had been hidden in another space-time dimension since the Primordial Era. No one could find it. The Primordial Meng Tree was even more miraculous. It basically wouldn't allow any existences to approach it. Many ancient sages had approached it to pluck a fruit, but all of them were severely injured and almost died. Even with Gu Chincha's current cultivation, it would be difficult for him to find the great desolate Dragon Gate. This was because the Dragon Gate had a spirit. At this level, it was very easy for him to hide. It was unknown how the three heavenly venerables managed to enter the Hongmeng tree. However, after devouring the sins of the primordial dragon sect, he had already grasped the clues of the primordial dragon sect through this fate and could find the existence of this god artifact. However, this trip was a little dangerous. The great desolate Dragon Gate contained many secrets, and there was even an existence stronger than the immortal master in Wan Senshi. That was the master of the North Star Continent. After refining the North Star Continent, Gu Chunsha already knew that there was an extremely terrifying master behind it. That was some mighty existence that had been born in the depths of the desolate Dragon Gate. This existence had once subdued the North Star Continent and made it submit. This level of old antique hadn't appeared yet, but once it did, it would truly shake heaven and earth. In the past, no old antique could cultivate to the sky origin realm. The highest realm was the celestial life realm, but now it was different. The restrictions of the heavenly Tao had disappeared, giving the celestial life realm antiques hope to advance to the sky origin realm. For example, one Senshi, the immortal master, and the others were all doing their best to research and explore, hoping to make some kind of breakthrough and finally reach the sky origin realm. Perhaps there really was an old antique in this world who could reach the sky origin realm. Gu Qinsha definitely wouldn't let his guard down. He also needed to quickly raise his cultivation base. First, he wanted to become a sage, then a celestial sovereign. If he could subdue the desolate Dragon Gate, he felt that reaching the celestial sovereign level wouldn't be a problem. Furthermore, his research on the desolate Dragon Gate was very deep. At the very beginning, he had relied on his personal treasure to dominate the world, which was the Dragonization Pagoda in the chaotic, demonic ape temple. Then he had used his own cultivation base many times to refine the Dragonization Pagoda into a Dragon Gate. As the Dragon Gate revolved, it could absorb all attacks of Xiantian astral energy and convert it into its own astral energy. That way, he would never run out of Xiantian astral energy. In the past, he had relied on this method to play around with the Dragon Gate he had created. Moreover, his sacred Dragon Heart Sutra was one of the highest secrets of the desolate Dragon Gate. In addition, he had stripped the martial emperor of all his memories and cultivation base, which contained a deep understanding of the desolate Dragon Gate. The martial emperor had entered the desolate Dragon Gate in the past. Otherwise, he wouldn't have obtained the Dragon Raising Sutra and created the Dragonization Pagoda. Gu Qinsha had never stopped researching the desolate Dragon Gate. In his opinion, of the three great treasures, the desolate Dragon Gate was the most compatible with his ideals. Whoosh! He came out of the dimensional realm of the little Hongmeng tree and entered the depths of the space-time turbulence. This time, his body flickered as he flew at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, he tore through the barriers of multiple dimensions. Then, with a slight movement, he crossed many parallel universes. He repeatedly flickered like this, relying on his heavenly Tao art to grasp some sort of node in time. This was no longer a change in space, but a change in time. This was because the desolate Dragon Gate and the real world existed in different time dimensions. When it came to spatial faults, one could travel through them at will. However, when it came to temporal faults, this wasn't something an ordinary powerhouse could grasp. This was especially true when spatial faults and temporal faults intersected. This way, coupled with the unpredictable ability of the universe, even heavenly venerables and heavenly longevity realm experts would find it difficult to find specific things in the boundless space-time. The universe was so vast that even heavenly longevity realm experts would be nothing more than a drop in the ocean in front of it. They wouldn't be able to cause any waves. However, as Gu Chansha used the heavenly Tao art, he was very familiar with this. After a full 3 days, he constantly used his own power to shift space-time, change trajectories, and lock onto a constantly changing position. In the end, he used all the power in his body and suddenly shook. It was as if he had broken through something, and everything in front of him suddenly became clear. 5 massive realms appeared in front of him. These 5 massive realms displayed 5 different colors: green, red, white, black, and yellow. There were actually 5 element realms, and they were all major kiliocosms. This is simply a miracle. Guchen Shah had seen the 5 element realms of the North Star Empire. Back then, the North Star Empire's most powerful move had been to explode all 5 minor kiliocosms in an attempt to break free from the Dharma Saint schemes. Unfortunately, it had failed at the last moment. However, in the end, the 5 element essence of the 5 minor kiliocosms had still been absorbed by Guchen Shah. But now, these weren't minor kiliocosms, but major kiliocosms. At the center of these 5 great thousand worlds, an even more miraculous scene appeared. There was a towering ancient gate. It was unknown how many space-time this gate had traversed. Countless dragons seemed to be shuttling back and forth ceaselessly within the gate, and within those 5 great thousand worlds, there were only dragons. In the wood world, there were wood dragons. In the fire world, there were fire dragons. There were also metal dragons, water dragons, and earth dragons. This was where the Your Desolate Dragon sect was located. The space-time here wasn't fixed, but it was constantly shifting. Every instant, it would shift 108,000 times. Therefore, no one could lock onto its position. Even if they did, it would only be fleeting. Only Gu Qinsha himself had the heavenly Tao art, and he had cultivated to the God realm. He had devoured the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence, and obtained the sins of the Your Desolate Dragon sect. Only then could he reach this place and see the true face of the Your Desolate Dragon sect. The true form of the Your Desolate Dragon sect was revealed to Gu Qinsha. Gu Qinsha felt that the majesty of the dragon sect was indescribable. He wondered what the Hongmeng tree looked like. He had seen the heaven sacrificial talisman before, and he even had it. It looked simple and unadorned, very different from the Your Desolate Dragon sect in front of him. Of course, both of them went to extremes. Another thing was that the heaven sacrificial talisman had yet to unleash its true power. Once it was unleashed, it would kill on behalf of the heavens. Its power was immeasurable. In the 14th year of the heaven sacrificial talisman, the heaven sacrificial talisman first fell into the hands of Gu Qinsha. Gu Qinsha wasn't the son of heaven, so he couldn't gather the power of the sacrificial talisman to carry out a large-scale sacrificial ceremony. Later on, when Gu Qinsha gained some power, the heaven sacrificial talisman automatically flew away and landed in the hands of Wu Dangkong. Wu Dangkong and Gu Qinsha lost time and time again, causing him to be unable to gather the sun of heaven's chi. Therefore, from the start to the end, the heaven sacrificial talisman never unleashed its true power. The Your Desolate Dragon sect was blocked by the 5 elements Great Thousand World. If one wanted to enter, he had to pass through this barrier. However, Gu Qinsha didn't care. His body changed again, and with a move, he disappeared. In the next flash, he stood in front of the Your Desolate Dragon sect. Compared to the Your Desolate Dragon sect, the difference was like an ant to the sea. However, his temperament, in essence, surpassed the Your Desolate Dragon sect. Although the Your Desolate Dragon sect was one of the 3 supreme treasures in the ancient legends, compared to the divine prefecture, the heaven realm, and the heavenly Tao, it was still a level lower. Gu Qinsha could use the power of the divine prefecture, defeat the will of the heaven realm, cultivate the heavenly Tao technique, and turn his minute dust world into a small heaven realm. In essence, he stood on a higher vantage point than the Your Desolate Dragon sect. However, he didn't directly enter the depths of the Your Desolate Dragon sect. Instead, he carefully observed at the entrance, because he knew that once he entered the door, he would likely be ambushed. With his current strength, rashly entering the interior of the Your Desolate Dragon sect was still extremely dangerous. This was not the outside world. If others used the power of the Your Desolate Dragon sect to crush him, he could easily defeat them. After entering the Your Desolate Dragon sect, this power would increase by 1,000 times. Just like that, he sat cross-legged in front of the Your Desolate Dragon sect, circulated his will, inhaled and exhaled, and then sent out his will. Your Desolate Dragon sect, in front of the heavenly Tao, you are guilty, but in front of me, you are innocent. I declare you innocent. This huge will rushed into the Your Desolate Dragon sect. Important notice, please use this site's free app. No ads, no errors, fast updates, members synchronized to the bookshelf. Please follow the official WeChat account. GGYY12221. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Download the app. Chapter 785. Gu Qinsha was communicating with Hong Wang Dragon Sect. Hong Wang Dragon Sect had its own will. That was something he believed in. However, the Great Spirit God seemed to have been recognized by Hong Wang Dragon Sect's will. It definitely wouldn't be easy to change Hong Wang Dragon Sect's mind. Luckily, as long as Gu Qinsha didn't enter, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Even Hong Wang Dragon Sect wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Gu Qinsha, do you dare to enter? At that moment, the Godland gourd beside him buzzed. This was Xing Qingshi's will. Xing Qingshi, don't try to provoke me. This move is useless. At that moment, Gu Qinshi's cultivation base was much stronger compared to when he was refining Xing Qingshi. This was because he swallowed the Great Spirit God's curse and turned it into merit. It brewed in his body and showed signs of forming a truth saint heart. In his body, the giant world energy and the ideals deep in his heart slowly gathered into two. One was as clear as the sky, and the other was like a burning prairie. Naturally, this was formed from the common people heaven mending technique and common people heaven transforming technique. The two turned into a pill heart. The light of the pill heart surpassed the sun and moon. However, it hadn't fully formed yet. Once it did, Gu Qinsha would step into the saint realm and form a true saint heart. He had already started to form it. With his current strength, he would be able to use saint path power to suppress Xing Qingshi, such that he couldn't move at all. Right now, Xing Qingshi could only rely on his mouth to do what he could. Gu Qinsha, if you can totally make Hong Wang Dragon Sect yield, then I will respect you. In the future, it won't be a problem for me to be your subordinate. After all, although I am the top fierceness of Godland and killed the ancient son of heaven, compared to Hong Wang Dragon Sect, I am far from enough. Xing Qingshi buzzed. Are you saying this for the dragon sect of the untainted universe? Gu Qinshi's tone did not fluctuate at all. The untainted dragon sect will never allow any existence to subdue him. He is an existence that stands at the highest point of the heavens and realms. This time, I came here to cooperate with him to eliminate his sins so that his sins will be added to me. Also, don't be deceived by the Great Spirit God. Only my ideals are truly in line with the ideals of the untainted dragon sect, and I can join our camp. As Gu Qinsha spoke, his will flowed into the depths of the primal dragon sect, allowing the will of the dragon sect to understand him. However, after circulating his will for a long time, there was no movement from the depths of the primeval desolate dragon gate. It seemed to be silent. Generally speaking, if any other old-timers had dared to sit at the entrance of the Your Wild's Dragon Gate, they would have long since been devoured. But now that the will of the Your Wild's Dragon Gate could sense how extraordinary Gu Qinsha was, there was no way it would believe Gu Qinshi's words. The Great Spirit God was definitely hiding in the untainted Dragon Gate. Gu Qinsha was certain. This time, Gu Qinsha decided to use peaceful means before resorting to force. He stood at the entrance of the raging desolate dragon sect, and the first thing he wanted was to get the raging desolate dragon sect to give up on the mighty miracle god. This way, the mighty miracle god would lose his greatest reliance, and it would be easy for Gu Qinsha to kill him. Of course, he wanted to obtain the curse and sins of the untainted dragon gate. The untainted dragon gate, you should know my authority. Gu Chansha said again, "My means my power to unify the divine continent. You'll definitely be aware of it. In addition, you should have seen my father suppress the heavenly Tao. The great spirit God is a cunning person. With your wisdom, if you can't understand him, you can't be such a great existence. Now, I have 3 rules with you. First, you expel the great spirit God, and I will help you eliminate all your sins. The great spirit God can't do that. Second, you and I will cooperate. We will fight against the heavenly Tao together and establish a new order after the heavenly Tao collapses. Third, I will even help you improve. You are in the Tianyuan realm. If you want to advance, you must replace the heaven realm. If you can help me, in the future when the heavenly Tao collapses and the heaven realm falls, you will be the real heaven realm. How about that?" Gu Chansha kept transmitting some things from his spirit into it. At this time, there was finally movement in the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate. Rumble. There seemed to be billions of divine thunder bursting out from inside, and the sound was loud. It rushed out the door and hit Gu Chansha. Crackle, crackle. Gu Chansha saw countless dragon-shaped divine thunder the size of dust. They surged out and all hit his body. The dragon-shaped divine thunder was 3 times more powerful than the dust in the land of ashes. Even a celestial venerable would die if they were hit by such an attack. Gourd collect. Gu Chansha didn't even look at it. He raised the divine land gourd, and a mighty force of the divine land condensed into a whirlpool, sucking in all the dragon-shaped thunderbolts the size of dust. Untainted Dragon Gate. I came with sincerity. If you don't listen to me, then we will go our separate ways. As the saying goes, if business fails, benevolence remains. Gu Chansha said, "You can attack me, but so what? The power of the divine land that I control is superior to yours. You don't think that you can compete with the divine land, do you?" There was a hint of anger in Gu Chansha's tone. Even in the face of the untainted Dragon Gate, he wouldn't show any weakness. At this time, the thunder in the untainted Dragon Gate stopped. In the depths of the Dragon Gate, a shadow gradually emerged, forming into a gray-robed old man. This old man had vicissitudes of life, and there were many wrinkles on his face. He looked like the skin of a walnut, and he would die at any time. His body also emitted a smell of decay, which was the dust of history. This was really an antique that had walked out of the dust-covered history. "Calm down, Chief Jingxian." The gray-robed old man appeared, cupped his hands, and spoke in an old voice. The explosion just now was not driven by the will of the untainted Dragon Gate, but by the instinct of demonization. The will of the untainted Dragon Gate was envied by the heavenly Tao because of the sins of the heavenly Tao. Over time, countless curses and karma were stored in the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate. These karma gradually eroded the body of the untainted Dragon Gate, causing its will to become chaotic. Therefore, the Great Spirit God took advantage of it. In fact, it is now the 33rd year of the Heavenly Talisman. In the 36th year of the Heavenly Talisman, there will be a huge tribulation. The untainted Dragon Gate and even the Hongmeng tree will fall, so in theory, the life of the untainted Dragon Gate is only 2 or 3 years. It is the same for the Hongmeng tree. Who are you? Gu Chansha looked at the gray-robed old man who suddenly appeared, and his eyes narrowed. If my guess is correct, you are the master of the North Star Dragon Gate, an existence born from the untainted Dragon Gate. Chief can call me Untainted Old Man, the gray-robed untainted old man, who looked like he was about to die at any moment, nodded. The North Star Dragon Gate is indeed my pet. In the untainted era, the essence of the earth gave birth to the North Star Dragon Gate. I once subdued it and made it submit, so it made me its master. However, now that it has been completely refined by you, there is nothing I can do. Untainted Old Man, why did you come out to see me? Gu Chansha did not believe this so-called untainted old man in front of him. This person did not seem to be hostile, but who knew if he was in cahoots with the Great Spirit God? He secretly used the heavenly Tao to observe, and found that this untainted old man's strength was only at the heavenly longevity realm, and not at the heaven primordial realm. However, This might not be the true strength of this untainted old man. Old antiques of this level were even more terrifying than immortal lords. I agree with Chief, and am prepared to cooperate with you. Untainted old man cupped his hands. I hope that Chief can expel the evil in the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate, awaken the will of the Dragon Gate, and expel the great spirit god. Is that so? Gu Qinsha looked at untainted old man for a long time. Is the great spirit god in the untainted Dragon Gate? Correct. Untainted old man nodded. Right now, the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate are divided into two parts. One is where I live, and it is still very clear. The other is the territory occupied by the great spirit god, and it has been completely devilized. Devilized? Gu Qinsha frowned. As far as I know, the great spirit god does not have any devilish nature. Naturally, the great spirit god would not be devilized, but he has grasped the highest essence of the demonic Tao. He devoured the voodoo ancestor. The voodoo ancestor and the demon ancestor, or the primordial heart devil, are actually two brothers. The two of them were born from the primordial chaos, and when the egg split open, the voodoo ancestor and the demon ancestor came out. In truth, ancient witchcraft itself is the Tao of the demonic god. Untainted old man recounted ancient secrets. In the era of the heavenly sons, the voodoo ancestor encountered a tribulation and was unable to recover. In the end, he was devoured by the great spirit god, and the primordial heart devil was the same. In the era of the heavenly sons, almost every generation of heavenly sons would fight against the demon race. Later, the heavenly sons gained the upper hand and conferred the title of God Maha, unifying the demon territory. That was actually built on the foundation of the primordial heart devil's tribulation. The great spirit god is a very cunning person. Some people know that he devoured the voodoo ancestor, but in truth he used the strength of the voodoo ancestor to find the place where the primordial heart devil perished. Then, he used the sacrifice and the power of the heavenly Tao to weaken the primordial heart devil, and then devoured it. In this way, he obtained all the essences of the voodoo ancestor and the demon ancestor, allowing him to open the path of heavenly essence. It was also because of this that he entered the untainted Dragon Gate and stirred up trouble. Did you not think about it? If the untainted Dragon Gate did not have a problem with this divine artifact, how could he not know the sinister intentions of the great spirit god? Also, if there was no problem with the primordial tree, how could the three heavenly venerables, who are treacherous and cunning people, enter the primordial tree? Even the primordial heart devil was captured by the great spirit god. Gu Qinsha's expression changed slightly. In fact, his heart was not moved. He was just putting on a show for untainted old man to see. According to the legends, the primordial heart devil does not have a physical body and only exists in the hearts of all living beings. How can it be captured? Important notice, please use this site's free app. No ads, no errors, fast updates, members synchronize with the bookshelf. Please follow the official WeChat account. Geja Jinkson. Press and hold for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 786. The primordial heart demon was a legend, the origin of the demon Tao. This demon was very strange. It did not have a real body, but existed in the hearts of all living beings. Wherever there were living beings, there would be the primordial heart demon. This realm was very mysterious. In fact, all living beings had spirituality and demonic nature in their hearts. The primordial heart demon lived on the demonic hearts of all living beings. However, it was unexpected that the primordial heart demon was imprisoned by the great spirit god and refined into his own body. In other words, the great spirit god now also had the power of the primordial heart demon and could use the demonic nature of all living beings as nourishment. Since that was the case, it was very terrifying. Division Head, there is something you do not know, the desolate old man said. Although the primordial heart demon is tyrannical and boundless, it is only at the heavenly longevity realm. Legend has it that all living beings have a heart demon, and wherever there is a heart demon, there will be a primordial heart demon. This is also an exaggeration. If it really has such a miraculous effect, then it is far beyond the heavenly primordial realm. The primordial heart demon's ability is actually to absorb the heart demons of all living beings to strengthen itself. However, the Great Spirit God has devoured both the voodoo ancestor and the primordial heart demon. If he controls the desolate dragon gate, it will become a huge problem in the future. Moreover, I also heard that the Great Spirit God is preparing a very big plan, which is to devour the spiritual world and then devour many demon domains to truly unite spirit and demon. In the eyes of the Great Spirit God, the Dharma Saint's spirit and demon unity plan is just a small toy. Now that the Great Spirit God has devoured the primordial heart demon, he already has the foundation to devour many demon domains. If he is allowed to obtain the children of spirit and devour them, then his achievements will be extremely terrifying. Children of spirit? Gu Chensh's eyes flickered. You mean that the spirituality of the spiritual world is also restless, and in the end, a powerful existence will be born, or perhaps it will reincarnate into the human world. Almost 90% of the conflicts between heaven and earth originate from the confrontation between spirit and demon. In the human heart, spirituality and demon coexist, balancing each other. With a strong spiritual nature, living beings could become immortals. With a strong demonic nature, living beings could become demons. The primordial heart devil is the son of devil. The son of spirit has never appeared since ancient times. It seems that he will appear in the Great Tribulation. However, even if the son of spirit appears, he will only be on the same level as the primordial heart devil. He is still a few levels lower than the Sun Moon Lord. The Sun Moon Lord is naturally stronger than the son of spirit. Moreover, the ancient heavenly sand was created from the conflict between the heavenly talisman emperor and the heavenly Tao. It has already surpassed the level of what I can understand. Of course, it is the same for the chief as well. It can be seen that the world is in turmoil, the great path has fallen, and a new era is about to begin. Heroes are coming forth in large numbers, and we, the older generation, can only watch you achieve your goals. Old Man Desolation stroked his beard. The Great Spirit God's futile struggle is futile. In front of you, it is all in vain. Ha ha ha. Gu Qinsha laughed loudly. Well said, Senior. Our calming immortal department is indeed going to create a new era. At the same time, we have to guard against the chain reaction caused by the collapse of the heavenly Tao. I can see that Senior is a supreme existence that dominates the world. Why don't you join me in establishing a new order? I also know that Chief is a hero of the current era. When the heavenly Tao is about to fall, the myriad worlds will collapse, and the Great Tribulation is about to arrive. In the entire universe, only Chief can rebuild the heavenly Tao and change the heavenly fate. This old man is willing to join you. However, this old man was born in the Desolate Dragon sect, and I am deeply indebted to you. Right now, the Desolate Dragon sect is occupied by the Great Spirit God and is about to be devoured. I can do nothing about it. I can only hope that Chief can expel the Great Spirit God, kill him, and save the Dragon sect. This old man vows to repay you with my life. I dare not slack off. Old Man Desolation cupped his hands again. You are too polite. When Gu Qinsha saw Old Man Desolation's attitude, he hurriedly returned the greeting. I wonder how Senior wants me to help. I am not familiar with the layout of the Desolate Dragon sect. With Chief's heavenly Tao, you will definitely be able to cleanse your sins. As long as this old man works together with Chief, we can slowly plot. With Chief's supreme means, you can actually turn sins into merits. This is a supreme power. The Desolate Dragon sect can be saved. This old man will bring Chief into the Dragon sect and set up an altar to awaken the will of the Desolate Dragon sect. At the same time, killing the Great Spirit God is just a matter of time. Without the help of the Desolate Dragon sect, the Great Spirit God is just a clown in front of Chief. You can easily capture him. In an instant, Old Man Desolation regained a certain spirit. It made people feel that he was not a senile old man, but a high-spirited young man. Oh, with Senior's help, the Great Spirit God will not be able to escape from my hands. Gu Chunsha smiled again. Then shall we enter the dragon's sect now? Chief, please. Old Man Desolation quickly said, please. Gu Chunsha was about to walk in. After 3 steps, he suddenly stopped at the entrance. With a smile that did not seem like a smile, he pulled Old Man Desolation back. Senior, are you trying to trick me into entering the Desolate Dragon sect? Are you working together with the Great Spirit God to set up a great killing formation to kill me? Old Man Desolation was stunned. He forced a smile and said, Chief, why do you say that? This old man working with the Great Spirit God is like asking a tiger for its skin. Ancestor Sorcerer worked with the Great Spirit God and was directly devoured. As long as one has a bit of intelligence, they will not work with the Great Spirit God. On the other hand, the Tranquil Immortal Department is righteous and treats experts kindly. For example, the Longevity God was originally going against the Tranquil Immortal Department. However, not only did Chief not kill him, you even helped him obtain the position of the 3 true gods. Now he has all 3 fates and is enjoying bliss. How can I not know? Senior does not come out, but you actually know about the matters of the world. You seem to know my Tranquil Immortal Department like the back of your hand. Gu Chinsha still did not enter the Desolate Dragon sect. Of course, he would not believe this Old Man Desolation. If it is as Senior said, the Desolate Dragon sect is in danger and needs to be saved, then Senior should have come to my Tranquil Immortal Department early to show your sincerity. Why did Senior only appear after I came to the Desolate Dragon sect today? Clearly, you are discussing a plan with someone. Chief, do not be suspicious and delay matters. Because I am in charge of the Desolate Dragon sect, it is difficult for me to come out. Naturally, I cannot inform you. Old Man Desolation suddenly flipped his hand and actually wanted to pull Gu Chansha into the depths of the Desolate Dragon sect. Old thief, you actually showed your true colors. Even if you have a glib tongue, you cannot escape my eyes. Do you really think that you could deceive me just because I am young? Gu Chincha's body moved, but he was as stable as a mountain. No matter how Old Man Desolation pulled, he could not move him at all. Instead, he moved his hand, and the divine land gourd appeared. The mouth of the gourd was aimed at Old Man Desolation. Immediately, the mouth of the gourd released a powerful suction force. It actually sucked Old Man Desolation into the air, and he was about to be sucked into the gourd. Once Old Man Desolation was sucked into the divine land gourd, no matter how strong he would be crushed by the power of the divine land. Furthermore, Gu Chinsha could tell that this Old Man Desolation was actually a clone. His true body was still in the depths of the Desolate Dragon sect. Seems like Chief is too suspicious and not a wise master. What a pity. At this moment, a majestic power of the 5 elements came from the depths of the Desolate Dragon sect and poured into Old Man Desolation's body. In an instant, Old Man Desolation's body seemed to have recovered its youth. His walnut-like skin became smooth, and his hair turned black. He stood tall and straight. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a young man. This young man's temperament also changed. He looked down on the world with disdain, domineering and invincible. He was still Old Man Desolation. To Old Man Desolation, time no longer had any meaning. Old Man Desolation had already defeated time. Ancient Fist of Desolation. This young man's black hair was like a waterfall, flying in all directions. As he clenched his fist, 10,000 dragons laughed maniacally as he punched out. In the blink of an eye, this punch pierced through the river of time, severing the flow of time in the air. It struck the depths of space and time until the end of time. Bang! With just one punch, the suction force of the divine land gourd was completely broken, causing Gu Chansha to return empty-handed. After that, Old Man Desolation punched out again. When the fist arrived, the sea flowed, the great Tao trembled, the stars trembled, and ghosts and gods trembled in fear. Perfect timing. Gu Chansha roared, as expected of Old Man Desolation, the master of the North Star sect. Your fist technique is the culmination of the cycle of time. However, if you want to rely on this fist technique to deal with him, it's still a bit lacking. I dare to come here today because I've calculated all of this. You and the Great Spirit God are working together to divide the Dragon Gate. In fact, you're even more vicious than the Great Spirit God. You even want to scheme against him. Now that you're working together, you want to devour the other. The Great Spirit God has absolute confidence in devouring you, and you have absolute confidence in devouring him. However, the two of you are still working together, using all sorts of methods to take advantage of the hole in the Dragon Gate. You want to devour an elephant? Do you think it'll be that easy? A dazzling light surged out from Gu Chinch's body and gathered into many pictures. Among them, there was the divine prefecture, the sun and moon, the primordial world, the other shore, and a supreme power that could revolutionize the heavenly fate. Gu Qinsha also punched out. This fist's aura was even stronger than Old Man Prehistoric's. It shook the air, destroying heaven and earth. When the two fists collided, Old Man Prehistoric's fist completely collapsed. Even his body was blown away, transforming into a clump of 5-elemental energy that retreated back into the depths of the Dragon Gate. You want to leave? If you don't leave behind this clone of yours, wouldn't I have lived up to my reputation? Wouldn't I be wasting my breath on you? Gu Chinch's hand reached out and grabbed the clump of innate 5-elemental energy. Talismans flickered, and he stuffed it into the divine prefecture gourd. Old Man Prehistoric, even this clone of yours can't do anything to Gu Qinsha. Now it's my turn to be nourishment. Xing Qingshi's voice came from the depths of the divine prefecture gourd, mocking Old Man Prehistoric. Xing Qingshi, you've been refined into a divine prefecture gourd. That's a great humiliation. But don't worry, I'll save you. Old Man Prehistoric ignored Xing Qingshi's mockery. Instead, he said, Xing Qingshi, if you'd rather die in glory than live in dishonor, you won't lack a chance to escape. Old Man Prehistoric, I'll gladly accept this clone of yours. Gu Qinsha sent the heavenly Tao art into the gourd. Gradually, the clone began to melt, and the divine prefecture gourd's aura became even more mellow. A 19-year-old girl's masturbation exposed on a live-stream platform. Follow the official WeChat account. MamePie1. Long press for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 787. Old Man Primordial's clone had gathered the purest spiritual energy of the 5 elements. It was much stronger than the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, and North Star Star. Gu Qinsha used the Divine Land Gourd to absorb this clone. It was at the Heavenly Life Realm. Although it wasn't as strong as Xing Qingshi, it was equivalent to 1/5 of Xing Qingshi's main body. From this, one could see how much the 5 elements' energy could benefit the Divine Land Gourd. There was the sound of wind, thunder, clouds, and tides within the Divine Land Gourd. Looking into the gourd, one could see that it was filled with nebulae, as if it was about to turn into a new star. Below the star was the Divine Land. There was a huge amount of spirituality in the Divine Land Gourd. The Divine Land Gourd wasn't the Divine Land anymore. It was actually showing signs of turning into a heaven realm. Xing Qingshi's was suppressed once more. Other than being able to speak, her control over the Divine Land Gourd was almost non-existent. Xing Qingshi, what do you think of the Dragon Gate? Is the situation like Old Man Primordial said? Gu Qinsha looked at the changes in the Divine Land Gourd and asked Xing Qingshi. Gu Qinsha, don't think I'll give you any ideas. Xing Qingshi's tone was filled with disdain. You refine me into a treasure. This is your doom. If you die, I can be free. I can also refine you and devour you instead. I'll curse you at all times and mess up your Divine Land Gourd. Don't worry. Gu Qinsha did not care at all. The depths of the primordial Dragon's Gate can be said to be a dragon's lair and a tiger's den. However, it is nothing to me. Xing Qingshi didn't say anything and fell silent. Gu Qinsha carried the desolate gourd and entered the depths of the desolate Dragon Gate. Originally, he did not dare to enter, and had stayed outside to study. However, Old Man Prehistoric had come out to lure him, and he had destroyed one of his incarnations. From that incarnation, he had obtained many secrets. These secrets allowed him to understand the changes in the depths of the desolate Dragon Gate. Some of the things that Old Man Primordial told him were true and false. Not everything contained in this incarnation was real. The prehistoric old man was extremely cunning. He had abandoned this incarnation because it could not withstand Guchench's attack. However, he also had the intention of deliberately misleading Guchensha. He had placed confusion in this incarnation, causing Guchensha to think that he had obtained the secret of the prehistoric Dragon Gate. Guchensha had entered it and fallen into a desperate situation. However, with Guchench's current cultivation base, he could completely separate the false from the true. He could distinguish between true and false information and analyze the truth from the false information. The temple has been calculating for tens of thousands of years without any negligence. As his body transformed, he silently merged with the Tao of the heavens. The instant he entered the Urwild's Dragon Gate, he vanished. No one could sense his existence, nor could they divine any traces of him. After all, he didn't even have his own fate. After entering the Urwild's Dragon Gate, Guchensha immediately sensed that this legendary supreme divine item lived up to its name. Surging dragon chi surged out. The dragon chi was extremely complicated. It contained the chi of a berserk dragon, the chi of a vile dragon, the chi of a true dragon, the chi of a murderous dragon, the chi of a greedy dragon, the chi of a ghost dragon, the chi of a holy dragon, the chi of a blessed dragon, and the chi of an absolute dragon. This dragon chi corresponded to the countless emotions in one's heart. With a single thought, 10,000 dragons could be born, and the 10,000 dragons could transform into one heart. Guchensha could feel the power of the Kiliakosm at every moment. The Kiliakosm dragon constantly attacked and crushed him. The pressure here was even greater than in the Land of Ashes. If it were so easy to sneak into the Urwild's Dragon Gate, many sages and celestial venerables would have come to collect the chi of the dragon nurturing, dragon creation, and holy dragon. They might even have wanted to grasp the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. Now, no one could grasp the complete Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. Not even the Great Spirit God could do it. Old Man Untainted could not either. Although these two existences lived in the Urwild's Dragon Gate, they did not fully understand the secret of this supreme divine weapon. 10,000 dragons and 10,000 chi, all into one. Guchensha slapped his hand, and suddenly the divine land gourd also emitted a long roar of 10,000 dragons. Amidst this roar, a stream of dragon chi floated out of the divine land gourd and gathered at the mouth of the gourd without dissipating. After that, it actually condensed into a small Urwild's Dragon Gate. This small Urwild's Dragon Gate began to absorb the chi from the depths of the real Urwild's Dragon Gate. Regardless of whether it was good or bad, it would all be absorbed into the Urwild's Dragon Gate and gathered into a ball, creating the main body of the small Urwild's Dragon Gate. Since he had entered the Urwild's Dragon Gate, he had to gain something. The depths of a Urwild's Dragon Gate were filled with treasures. Even a strand of chi was incomparably precious. It was the best material to create the divine land gourd. Guchensha had obtained the heavenly sacrifice talisman and was proficient in the Son of Heaven's investiture Tao. He had also created the world tree into a small Hongmeng tree, and even used victorious battle celestials Hongmeng Chi to gain some enlightenment of the Hongmeng Tao. In the early days, he had used the Dragonization Pagoda as the foundation to create his own Dragon Gate. One could say that he had a good understanding of the three great treasures. Rumble. His actions seemed to have angered the will of the desolate dragon sect. Suddenly, even more changes occurred. All of a sudden, all the draconic chi changed and condensed into primordial gods. These primordial gods had human heads and dragon bodies. They were ancient and full of vicissitudes. At a glance, they seemed to be billions of rivers. Each of the primordial gods unleashed their strongest attacks. As the ancient innate gods chanted, the word dragon appeared in their mouths. The word spread out and formed a huge dragon mountain that pressed down on Guqinsha. Just in time, Guqinsha slapped the divine prefecture gourd again. At this time, Emperor's energy flew out from the divine prefecture gourd and turned into countless ancient emperors. These ancient emperors pointed at the sky and stomped on the ground, commanding the rivers and mountains. Together, they formed a decree. It was the heavenly sacrifice talisman. The Urwald's dragon gate produced the primordial gods, while Guqinsha produced the ancient emperors. They fought tit for tat and refused to back down. In an instant, the primordial gods and ancient emperors clashed. Everything returned to chaos. Guqinsha's body also seemed to disappear in the collision of this level. After a while, the chaos calmed down and Guqinsha appeared again. The divine prefecture gourd had shrunk to the size of a fist and could be held in a palm. As expected, in the depths of the Urwald's dragon gate, I borrowed the power of the dragon gate to refine the divine prefecture gourd. It's like a fish in water. When the divine prefecture gourd evolves, it will probably surpass the little Hongmeng tree and form a strange medium-sized world. Guqinsha's face was filled with joy. At this moment, a sword light suddenly appeared, slashing at the back of Guqinsha's head. This sword light was condensed and strange. It was like a gossamer thread that could destroy anything. But before it reached Guqinsha, it encountered an umbrella. The endless umbrella was propped up, and no attacks could hurt Guqinsha in the slightest. Guqinsha had seized the infinity umbrella from Fa Wuxian and completely refined it into his body. It had already become one with the heavenly Tao and was inseparable. At the critical moment, the umbrella would automatically come out to block the enemy. The sword light stopped on the umbrella. Guqinsha grabbed out with his hand, and the power of his claw broke through the killing intent in the sword light. Then, he turned his claw into a palm and slammed it into the air. In the distance, from an unknown layer of the spatial kingdom, a scream could be heard. Clearly, the person who wielded the sword had suffered a great loss. Retract. Guqinsha gently retracted his hand, and a small sword appeared in his hand. It was only 3 inches long, but it shone with a brilliant light like a lightning dragon. It was constantly vibrating as though it wanted to break through the void. One could see billions of lightning crackling within the sword. It was actually a top-notch primordial treasure, an innate spiritual treasure. The nature of this sword seemed to be above that of the all-encompassing, shattering cudgel. Good sword, but it's a pity that it doesn't have the right method. Guqinsha observed the sword. Just now, when this sword slashed at me, the endless umbrella automatically blocked it. In the depths of the sword I can actually sense the aura of the endless umbrella. The endless umbrella is the origin divine weapon of the heaven realm of the endless 36 treasures. The only sword that can break it is the number 1 divine weapon, the endless sword. However, this sword is not the endless sword, but it has the sword will of the endless sword. Could it be that the reincarnation of the number 1 divine weapon has appeared? Could it be that the reincarnation of the great spirit god has appeared in the untainted dragon gate? If that's the case, things are a little troublesome. The foundation of the great spirit god is far more than this. As he pondered, Guqinsha threw the sword into the divine land gourd, and it became a resource for the gourd. Then, he activated his divine ability and began to see the location of the great spirit god. From a sword light, just now, in the depths of the untainted dragon gate, there are not only 2 great existences, Old Man Primitive and the great spirit god. There is also a tyrannical force. This was because the sword light did not belong to Old Man Primitive and the great spirit god. Among the endless 36 treasures, the endless sword had the strongest attack, and the endless heart was the most mysterious, connecting everything. The person who wielded the sword just now must have followed the reincarnation of the Sword of Infinity to cultivate sword techniques, which cause the infinity umbrella to fluctuate. However, Gu Chunsha felt that it would be better if the factions in the depths of the dragon sect were more complicated. That way, it would be easier for him to carry out his plans. The depths of the Dragon Gate of the untainted universe was a boundless universe that encompassed everything. It was not an easy task for him to find the true body of the Great Spirit God. Old Man Desolation had also completely disappeared. Gu Chunsha continued to walk through the Dragon Gate of the Great Desolate Era. He realized that there were all sorts of dragon chi. They intertwined with each other, shook each other, exploded each other, and fought against each other. They did not settle down to form land, mountains, rivers, and other lands. This made Gu Chunsha feel a little strange. This was because in the depths of any great thousand world, there would be stable space-time. In the end, mountains and rivers would form and nurture all living beings. Then, all living beings would offer sacrifices to the heavens and earth to make up for the great thousand world. It was like a commoner farming. However, that was not the case for the Primordial Universe Dragon Sect. Announcement. This site recommends a free app. Say goodbye to all ads. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install Upseed. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 788. The Great Spirit God. As long as I can confirm that your true body is in the Primordial Dragon Gate, I can find you. Gu Chunsha used the Divine Land Gourd to absorb the Dragon Chi in the Primordial Dragon Gate while calculating the movements of the Great Spirit God. Even though he had not locked onto the Great Spirit God's true body, he had gained a lot. Using the Primordial Dragon Gate to refine the Divine Land Gourd, the growth of the Divine Land Gourd was astonishing. All sorts of dragon chi were constantly injected into it. According to Gu Chunsha's will, the Divine Land created the Divine Land. In the Divine Land, many ancient innate gods were born. Gu Chunsha created a true Divine Land in the Divine Land Gourd. This was his ideal Divine Land. It could also be called the perfect Divine Land. I already have the dragon nurturing chi and dragon creation chi in the depths of the Primordial Dragon Gate. Sadly, there is no dragon chi there, nor is there the proper Holy Dragon Mantra. This is something I must get. If the Holy Dragon Mantra is perfected, I can do something against the heavens and turn all my subordinates into saints. I want to see how much sin will be added to me. Gu Chunsha was multitasking. As he roamed the Primordial Dragon Gate, he also paid attention to the Holy Dragon Chi and the Holy Dragon Mantra. After an unknown period of time, his Divine Land Gourd shrunk again. It was now the size of a thumb. The smaller it was, the more condensed its power and the more mysterious it became. Somehow, Gu Chunsha had grasped the Primordial Dragon Gate's network. There was indeed a problem with the Dragon Gate. It was drawn in by sin and was about to fall. However, the Great Spirit God played a key role. He infiltrated the depths of the Primordial Dragon Gate and used a secret method to draw in the sin and corrupt the Primordial Dragon Gate. He did not reach an agreement with the Primordial Dragon Gate. Instead, he plotted against them. He and the Primordial Old Man tried to split the divine weapon and take it for themselves. The Desolate Dragon Sect situation is much worse than the Hongmeng Tree and the Heaven's Sacrificial Talisman. Gu Chunsha suddenly stopped, as if he had occupied a key point in the depths of the prehistoric Dragon Gate. Since that is the case, I will use my power to heal the prehistoric Dragon Gate, dispel the sin and evil chi. After this round, I roughly know how to make the prehistoric Dragon Gate slightly recover its consciousness. As long as the prehistoric Dragon Gate slightly recovers, prehistoric Old Man and the Great Spirit God will not be able to hide. He sat cross-legged in the air and raised the Divine Land Gourd. Then he began to recite the scriptures. This scripture was the great common people salvation scripture that he had created himself. This scripture contained the profoundness of seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. It could already transform the nature of all living things in a human nature. Originally, Gu Chunsha had only achieved a small success in this scripture. However, after he was pulled into the dream world by the will of the heaven realm, he subdued the demonic ape god of chaos and obtain the way of human nature transformation from him. This way, the great people salvation scripture would be perfected. Now, he wanted to create lives in the primeval desolate Dragon Gate, to offer sacrifices to the Dragon Gate, to expel the sins, and to cleanse the roots. Divine land appear. The true divine land shot out from the divine land gourd. It immediately stabilized the violent dragon Shi in the depths of the primeval desolate Dragon Gate. Then, Guchincha's scripture spread out. Wherever the scripture reached, the dragon Shi there would truly stabilize. Then, it would turn into pieces of land. With the divine land as the center, it actually evolved into the four wildernesses. The eastern wildernesses, the savage wildernesses, the desert wildernesses, and the ocean wildernesses. In these four wildernesses, living beings were born one after another. As soon as these living beings were born, they would offer sacrifices, cultivate, and develop intelligence. Then, these living beings began to offer sacrifices to the primeval, desolate Dragon Gate. When they did so, their minds were pure, without any distracting thoughts or selfishness. They were of one heart and one mind. Guchancha used the violent dragon Shi in the depths of the primeval desolate Dragon Gate to ascend and create the people who mended the heavens. They were originally puppets, and the sacrifices could not produce power. However, Guchancha had completely comprehended the way to cut off fate, the way to become human, and the way to activate the heavenly Tao. These people who mended the heavens were no longer puppets, but real people. No one could do what Guchincha had done. He had directly created the people of the divine land. At first, it was a small continent with thousands of heaven-mending dwellers. Next, as the heaven-mending dwellers offered sacrifices, the dragon Shi in the surroundings became peaceful. Then, the dragon Shi fused with the continent, giving birth to even more heaven-mending dwellers. 2 hours later, the number of people mending the heavens had reached tens of thousands. The power of the sacrifices became stronger and stronger, and the speed at which the dragon Chi calmed down became faster and faster. This was like a feudal lord trying to pacify the world in a chaotic world. At the beginning, it took a lot of effort, but the momentum was already set. It was like a rolling snowball, sweeping everything. After 4 hours, the number of people mending the heavens had reached hundreds of thousands. After 20 hours, it had reached millions. After 3 days, there were already hundreds of millions of people mending the heavens, living in the land. They cultivated and offered sacrifices. They gathered a huge amount of pure, sacrificial power, and it crazily seeped into the depths. More and more violent dragon Chi stabilized, forming a large land. It was best for any world to have living beings offering sacrifices. Only then would the world circulate perfectly. Otherwise, it would gradually decline. There were none in the depths of the primordial Dragon Gate. So Guchancha set up new sacrifices. It was like a brilliant doctor treating a patient's illness. Under Guchincha's lead, the hundreds of millions of people mending the heavens worshipped, cultivated, and multiplied. The expansion power greatly increased. 10 days later, there were more than 10 billion people mending the heavens. They were densely packed, forming a flood. Guchancha led them to worship and cultivate day and night, chanting scriptures. With this as the center, the primordial Dragon Gate became clear. This clear energy started to spread out, causing life and pure land to appear in the depths of the primordial Dragon Gate. Primordial pure land, people mending the heavens. In the future, when the heavenly Tao collapses, I can even mend the heavens. This primordial Dragon Gate will be even easier. In the future, mend the heavens. Now let's practice in the primordial Dragon Gate. Guchincha roared. His will spread in all directions, causing the wind and clouds to surge. The depths of the primordial Dragon Gate were opened up by Guchancha as a pure land. It expanded at an unstoppable rate. A month later, there were close to 1 trillion people mending the heavens. Such a huge number was something that even the current Guchancha found hard to control. However, he didn't manage it himself. Instead, he promoted heaven-mending official, heaven-mending general, heaven-mending general, heaven-mending general, heaven-mending marquis, and heaven-mending king. This was to emulate the common people marquis and common people marquis. Of course, this was temporary. Finally, in the depths of the primordial Dragon Gate, a certain will was awakened. Gu Chensha was still in the depths of the primordial Dragon Gate, causing it to recover a little. A trillion people mending the heavens. The worship power that they produced was vast and endless. As it continued to expand, the land was formed, allowing the depths of the primordial Dragon Gate to have true mountains and rivers. Originally, the primordial Dragon Gate was filled with illnesses. But when Gu Chensha came, he helped to heal a portion of it. As long as this continued, he would be able to recover. So, just at that moment, Gu Chensha sensed that the will of the primordial Dragon Gate had awakened a little. It was like a patient who had been in a coma for a long time waking up. But at that moment, demonic energy surged in the distance. Countless demons appeared and attacked the land that Gu Chensha had created. They killed the people mending the heavens and destroyed the sacrifices. A giant demonic palm appeared out of nowhere and ripped apart the country. In an instant, a large area of the land was turned to dust. 100 billion people mending the heavens were turned to dust just like that. The Great Spirit God, you finally can't sit still anymore. Gu Chensha flew up and turned into a giant golden palm to block the demonic palm. Then, the demonic palm changed and turned into a person. This person was a young man. His face was like jade, and his body was tall and well-proportioned. He seemed to be the most perfect and flawless person in the world. His long hair fell over his shoulders, and he wore an embroidered robe. He had the aura of a scholar, a war god, a sword hero, and also the aura of a demon god. All the auras were gathered on his body. He could turn into any existence with any temperament. This was the Great Spirit God, the main body of the Great Spirit God. He finally appeared in front of Gu Chensha. The Great Spirit God, is this your main body? The Great Spirit God in front of Gu Chensha said, "This seems to be the first time you have appeared in front of me in your main body. Can't sit still anymore? If I expel you and leave the primordial Dragon Gate, you will really be a stray dog. I can capture you at any time. Gu Chensha, I have indeed underestimated you. If I had known, I would have used all my tricks and methods to kill you before you grew up." The Great Spirit God opened his eyes wide, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. "The primordial Dragon Gate is mine. You actually want to take it. How can I let you? You want to kill me before I grow up." Gu Chensha's killing intent also appeared when he faced his enemy. "You have probably forgotten why the Emperor left you alive. It was to make you a training tool for me to practice. That idiot Gu Taxian." The Great Spirit God laughed. He was stupid. He challenged the heavenly Tao in an attempt to complete a feat. In the end, he fell into a quagmire and could no longer control the situation. If I were him, I would have destroyed the heavenly Tao long ago and created a brand new future. It can be seen how stupid he is. Do you really think he let me go? In reality, he can't kill me. I am the one who understands him the most in the world. I know his fatal weakness. So, I killed your mother, and he can't do anything to me. You barged into the primordial Dragon Gate today, and only death awaits you. I originally wanted to raise you and let you and Gu Chensha fight until both of you are injured. Then, I will make a move. Now, I have to change my plans." Chapter 789. Gu Chensha finally saw the true face of the Great Spirit God. This god was indeed worthy of his reputation. At first glance, Gu Chensha could tell that this person's strength was above that of Wan Senshi, the immortal master, and even the victorious fighting celestial lord. There was even an aura of heavenly origin on him. It was just unstable. Once it stabilized, this person would truly break through the limit and reach the heavenly origin realm that no living creature had ever been able to break through. The mighty miracle god's craftiness, scheming, and manipulation were evident. However, even if the Great Spirit God really ascended to the heavenly origin realm, Gu Chansha was not afraid at all. He was still confident enough to take him down. In the untainted Dragon Gate, Gu Chansha had begun to expand trillions of people mending the heavens, offering sacrifices, cultivating, producing, and chanting scriptures. With the violent dragon chi of the untainted Dragon Gate as a resource, the people mending the heavens expanded extremely quickly. If it were in the divine land, Gu Chansha would not be so powerful, because the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate contained many mysteries. Now, Gu Chansha was just helping the untainted Dragon Gate clean up the wealth. His role was that of a steward who sorted out the wealth. Of course, he was also a doctor who treated the sick and saved people. If Gu Chansha continued like this, the Great Spirit God would really have no way to survive. He did not expect that Gu Chansha would steadily expand in the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate, cleaning up the sin and evil atmosphere. If the will of the untainted Dragon Gate completely woke up, he would not be able to survive. He would be forced to flee, and all his efforts would be for naught. So he had to come out. As the Great Spirit God and Gu Chansha talked, their eyes shone with a fierce light. They looked at the divine central continent and the trillions of people mending the heavens living in the eastern wilderness, the desolate sea wilderness, and the desert wilderness. They were praying all the time and forming a light shield. Then, the power of sacrifice turned into a long dragon and gathered in the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate. The power of these sacrifices was to expel the sin of the untainted Dragon Gate, stabilize its vitality, and restore its strength. I'll destroy what this kid wants to do first. The Great Spirit God once again activated his secret technique. A demonic palm stretched out from his back. Demonic chi instantly eroded the surroundings, attempting to demonize all the heaven-mending dwellers. In this way, Gu Chansha would not be able to save the untainted dragon sect. Instead, the demonized heaven-mending dwellers would curse the untainted dragon sect and accelerate its fall. The Great Spirit God, the first time you ambushed me, you destroyed quite a few of my heaven-mending people. Now you want to do the same thing again? That's impossible. Gu Chansha waved his hand, causing a mist to rise up from all of the continents. This mist was even more powerful than the dust from the land of the ash, and it immediately blocked the Great Spirit God's attack. Then, Gu Chansha launched a counterattack. With a wave of his hand, a ball of fluctuating vital energy flew out from the divine land gourd. This vital energy swirled and turned into a flying dagger. It locked onto the Great Spirit God's body and slashed. This wasn't the blade will of the immortal, slaying God flying dagger, but the blade of the divine land gourd. The divine land gourd had been refined from Zinqiangshi's body. He had been slain by the immortal, slaying God flying dagger, and a huge blade aura remained in his body, becoming a part of the divine land gourd. Now, Gu Chansha had refined this blade aura and gathered the true essence of the divine land. Using the will to slay all evil in the human heart as a blade, he attacked the Great Spirit God. Heavens was like a blade that split apart time. The human heart was like a blade that could split the heavens and split the earth. At this time, Gu Chansha extracted the strongest killing intent from the human heart and forged a blade that was even stronger than heaven's will to slay the Great Spirit God. The primordial chaos was all-encompassing. The higher one's cultivation, the better the treasure they could extract from the primordial chaos. In theory, as long as one's cultivation was high enough, it wasn't rare to extract a treasure on the level of the primordial dragon gate from the primordial chaos. The primordial dragon gate was also an existence born from the primordial chaos explosion. Similarly, the human heart was the same. Countless human heart sacrifices gathered together. As long as one's cultivation was high enough, they could extract the strongest existence from the massive sacrifices. It could even be more exquisite than the primordial chaos. The human heart was something more profound than the heavenly Tao. If one's cultivation was high enough, the things extracted from it would be even more terrifying. Gu Chinch's preliminary refinement allowed him to extract the blade will from it. Its power had already surpassed the true power of the immortal, slaying god flying dagger. A blade appeared and chased after the great spirit god until he died. When the great spirit god saw the blade, a solemn expression appeared on his face. He opened his mouth and spat out a blade light. The blade light kept changing in an attempt to block the blade that Gu Chansha had taken out. Unfortunately, when the two collided, the great spirit god's blade was smashed into pieces. Gu Chinch's flying dagger didn't seem to be damaged at all. It continued flying towards the great spirit god. The great spirit god, this is the heart blade that I extracted from a human heart. This heart blade surpasses the heaven blade. Even the heavens can be severed. Since you want to destroy these people that I created to mend the heavens, you can try the sure-kill heart blade that evolved from the depths of their hearts. Gu Chansha grabbed again, and a sword was extracted from the depths of the huge sacrificial power. The power of this sword was even sharper than the flying dagger from before. It actually had some of the power of the infinite sword. This sword slashed towards the great spirit god. The great spirit god dodged again and again, not daring to take it head-on. Junior, you do have some tricks up your sleeve. While dodging, the great spirit god was able to change his position calmly. He wasn't hurt by Gu Chinch's sword. This is the beginning. I cultivated in the untainted dragon gate for a few months. Not only did I create the people to mend the heavens and save the untainted dragon gate through the sacrificial ceremony, but I also understood the real killer moves and methods. I fused all my cultivation into one furnace. Today, the great spirit god will let you see what I'm really capable of. Gu Qinsha once again injected his mana into the divine land gourd. Indeed, Gu Qinsha cultivated in the depths of the untainted dragon gate and evolved the divine land and the four wildernesses. In the four wildernesses, the people to mend the heavens were evolved. Then, these people to mend the heavens carried out the sacrificial ceremony, which shook the untainted dragon gate's source. As such, Gu Qinsha secretly pondered, and his own cultivation also improved greatly. In these 3 months of cultivation, he almost transformed all his internal willpower into the saint heart of truth, which laid the foundation for him to become a sage. As long as he seized the opportunity to absorb the untainted dragon gate sin, Gu Qinsha might be able to directly become a sage. He wouldn't need the Sun Moon Lord Gu Chinch's source. As Gu Qinsha spoke, dozens of auras suddenly emerged from the divine land gourd and turned into various Dharma treasures. Among them, there were swords, cauldrons, umbrellas, spears, pikes, staffs, diagrams, bridges, claws, ladders, hooks, bows, arrows, wheels, axes, locks, wheels, and so on. There were a total of 36 items. This is the great spirit god could no longer dodge. He was surrounded by all 36 treasures. This is the endless 36 treasures. You actually evolved all of them one by one. That's right. Although I only obtained 14 of the endless 36 treasures, I've already deduced all the intricacies of these treasures. Then, I extracted these treasures from people's hearts. Given time, my cultivation will gradually increase, and I will be able to evolve these endless 36 treasures that are even more mysterious than the real endless 36 treasures. Obtaining the endless 36 treasures is nothing. Forging treasures that are even more powerful than the real endless 36 treasures is a skill. Gu Qinsha flew up. Suddenly, the endless 36 treasures that he had created began to spin and suddenly combine. Rumble. When the endless 36 treasures had completely combined, a huge door appeared. The door to the heaven realm. In the depths of the door to the heaven realm, a great seat appeared. This great seat enjoyed the great fortune of Huang Tianwuji, and it was a level higher than the emperor. It could be said that it was a true supreme. This was the emperor of heaven. Rumor had it that the person who controlled the heaven sacrifice talisman was only the emperor. But the person who controlled the endless 36 treasures could open the door to the heaven realm and become the emperor of heaven in the depths of the door to the heaven realm. They would become the lord of the heaven realm, and even control a portion of the Tao of heaven. This was the true secret of the endless 36 treasures. That was why even the lord of the sun and moon, Gu Chansha, had a fight over the endless 36 treasures. Once he obtained them, he could open the door to the heaven realm and become the emperor of heaven. He would obtain supreme power and then wait for the Tao of heaven to collapse. That way, he would be able to reap the greatest benefits and enjoy the endless 36 treasures for all eternity. You actually comprehended the greatest secret of the endless 36 treasures. The great spirit god roared. Wind and clouds surged around him, and the power of the Kiliacosm burst out of him, trying to push the endless 36 treasures away. If you obtain the real endless 36 treasures, I would be dead immediately. But the endless 36 treasures you've created are still very shallow. Watch me destroy them. Rumble. All of a sudden, the great spirit god's body exploded. He transformed into countless bolts of lightning that were the color of primal chaos. It was as if he had returned to the primal chaos Big Bang. This is the true lightning I created after devouring the primordial heart devil and the voodoo ancestor. It's called primordial chaos heaven evolving lightning. I can transform primal chaos into all living things. And I can also shatter all living things into primal chaos to create heaven and earth. Don't even think about using your useless 36 treasures in front of me. The great spirit god's voice was hidden within the primordial chaos heaven evolving lightning. The door to the heaven realm, emperor of heaven throne. Gu Qinsha ignored him. With a move of his body, he entered the gate of the heaven realm that he had created and sat on the throne of the celestial emperor. Crack, crack. As soon as he sat down, his body underwent a miraculous transformation. The aura of the emperor of heaven surged out of him. His way of thinking and his gaze had also suddenly changed. He felt as if he was truly high and mighty, standing at the pinnacle of the myriad worlds. He had truly obtained the glory and fortune of the supreme infinity. At this moment, he had the illusion that he had become the emperor of heaven. Whoosh! His palm propped itself up. With a wave of his palm, he scattered all of the great spirit god's primordial chaos heaven evolving lightning. Then, he flipped downwards. The great spirit god kept shrinking, as if he was about to be completely crushed under his palm. Today, there's only this chapter at 8 a.m. Recently, I've been reading Tao Fa Hui Yuan and learning the Tao techniques and runes inside. I'm a little dazed. If you find any errors in the chapter, please report it. We will fix it immediately. For more exciting content, please pay attention to New Domain Name Access. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 790. The Great Spirit God hadn't been able to last more than a few rounds against Gu Qinsha. From that, it was possible to see how ferocious Gu Qinsha was. Originally, he hadn't been so powerful, but after cultivating in the Urwild's Dragon Gate for several months, he had gained enlightenment of its secrets and created trillions of heaven-mending people. After several months, Gu Qinsha had thoroughly refined his cultivation base. He had already explored half of the principles of the Urwild's Dragon Gate. With that as a foundation, he had been able to gain enlightenment of the secrets of the endless 36 treasures, the foundation of the celestial world, the celestial gate, and the emperor of heaven throne. This realm was already the highest limit of cultivation. Compared to the emperor of heaven throne, the true God throne was like comparing a county magistrate to an emperor's throne. What Gu Qinsha had conjured was not the real throne of heaven. This throne had not truly appeared in the world because, from ancient times until now, the endless 36 treasures had never appeared. Although the endless 36 treasures existed in the legends, no one had ever seen one of them. Many of the old-timers didn't know that the endless 36 treasures could open the celestial gate, and that the Emperor of Heaven throne could be found in the depths of the celestial gate. The Emperor of Heaven throne was the most powerful treasure, far above the heavenly sacrifice talisman, the Grand Mist Tree, and the Urwild's Dragon Gate. Whoever obtained the Emperor of Heaven throne would be the true Emperor of Heaven. In front of the Emperor of Heaven throne, the Son of Heaven would be nothing more than a vassal. Gu Chansha used his understanding of the endless 36 treasures to comprehend its profundities and finally condense the gate to the heaven realm. The celestial emperor's throne appeared in the depths. Although it was not the real celestial emperor's throne, it already contained a lot of celestial emperor's essence. Using the quintessence of the Emperor of Heaven throne to suppress the Great Spirit God, no matter how crafty the Great Spirit God was, and no matter how many resources he had, it was all for naught. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and plots were useless. What kind of person was Gu Chansha? The knowledge he grasped was astonishing. He had practically reached a state of omniscience. He had forced the Great Spirit God to make a move, not through a hidden scheme, but an open one. In other words, even if the Great Spirit God did not make a move, he would only be waiting for death. If he made a move, he would fall into the Great Spirit God's trap and be suppressed. From a moment he entered the prehistoric Dragon Gate, the Great Spirit God had already lost. Giant spirit transformation, an innate ability. At this time, no matter how strong the Great Spirit God was, he could sense great danger. He knew that Gu Chansha had the ability to kill him, and in terms of scheming, Gu Chansha was not inferior to him at all. However, all of his schemes were conspiracies, while Gu Chansha's schemes were upright and above-board, using the absolute righteous paths over its schemes. Therefore, Gu Chansha was the perfect counter to him. The Great Spirit God's forte was not fighting, nor was it management, but scheming. He seemed to have reached the pinnacle of scheming. From the primeval age until now, who knew how many old-timers, true gods, sages, immortals, and demons had died because of his schemes. But now that he had met Gu Chansha, he felt that something was amiss. His hands and feet were tied, and he could not use them. At this time, Gu Chansha had actually forced him to use his innate ability. In the blink of an eye, his body expanded infinitely. The so-called Titan spirit was enormous, and it was boundless. The spirit was the crystallization of intelligence. Giant and spiritual. That was what a giant spirit was. The Great Spirit God's current state was equivalent to the primal chaos explosion of the beginning of heaven and earth. The Great Spirit God's giant spirit, Tao, started from a small, then expanded abruptly, becoming a huge, boundless world. Then, this world would give birth to the most abundant spiritual nature. The giant spirit Tao was the primal chaos explosion Tao. The primal chaos explosion Tao was the transformation from small to large, giving birth to the spiritual nature of all living things. This was the true trump card of the Great Spirit God. It was his own Tao, his own magic, his own arts, and his own martial arts. Kill. The mighty miracle god actually broke free from Gu Chansha's suppression just like that. He began to counterattack and attacked Gu Chansha. He stepped on the boundless primal chaos. In the primal chaos, corpses piled up, and a general success was built on the bones of tens of thousands. Primal chaos. Corpses. Standing on it, the giant miracle god pointed at the sky and stomped on the ground. With absolute momentum and killing moves, he attacked Gu Chansha. Gu Chansha sat on the throne of the Emperor of Heaven, his face expressionless. No matter how the Great Spirit God attacked, he didn't budge. Instead, he stretched out his hand, clenched it into a fist, and pushed it down. Rumble. Everything that the mighty miracle god had turned into an illusion. His mighty miracle Tao had actually dissipated into thin air. All of his Dharma idols had dissipated. It was as though a sudden clap of thunder had swept through the world, clearing away all the demonic aura in the world. Ah! The Great Spirit God let out a shrill roar. In the midst of the battle, he suddenly disappeared without a trace. He had used all of his methods, but he was helpless against Gu Chansha. He was still at a disadvantage, so he could only escape first before coming up with a countermeasure. Gu Chansha, if I hadn't completely merged with the primordial heart devil and the voodoo ancestor, Would I have allowed you to act so viciously here today? The Great Spirit God said. But next time, you won't be so lucky. There's no need to wait any longer. Your failure this time means that you can no longer survive in the Untainted Dragon sect. The tide has turned, and the Untainted Dragon sect will soon be saved by me. If you're smart, you should leave immediately. That way, you can still preserve a bit of your foundation. If you're stubborn, you'll die without a burial. Gu Chunsha clasped his hands together, and instantly, the sacrificial power spread out again. His world power also started to calm down the violent dragon chi in the depths of the Dragon Gate. Woo woo woo. The cries of ghosts and howls of gods resounded in the depths of the Dragon Gate. Gu Qinshan knew that he had started to trigger the true sin. This was the most critical moment. Elsewhere, countless demonic shadows flickered. These demonic shadows were completely different from the demons in the demon realm. Instead, they were the deepest and most primitive of sins and karma, sins and retribution. Good stuff. Gu Qinsha's sin, karma, retribution. It was simply the rarest elixir. He impatiently inhaled. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Immediately, the divine land gourd flew above his head and aimed at the sins in the depths of the Dragon Gate of the untainted desolate lands. A pitch-black rainbow was immediately absorbed by the divine land gourd. Xing Qingshi's expression was filled with fear. Gu Chunsha, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to kill me? If I am tainted by this sin, I will be consigned to eternal damnation. Therefore, Xingqiangshi, you haven't gained enlightenment of my quintessence. To me, the karmic retribution is a great tonic. To the divine prefecture, it's also a great tonic. All of the sins, karmic retribution of all living beings will be shouldered by me. My wish is that in the future, there will be no more karmic retribution. From now on, there will be no demons in this world. All demons will belong to me. All the evil has been added to my body. Gu Qinsha's voice became louder and louder. This voice gathered into a surging current that repeatedly washed away the sins in the depths of the Dragon Gate of the untainted desolate lands. As expected, as he swore, the sins seemed to be like sharks that smelled blood. They swarmed over and gathered towards him. Gu Qinsha used the divine land gourd to absorb the sins while also absorbing the sins. He was using himself to purify the Dragon Gate of the untainted desolate lands. As countless sins surged into the divine land gourd, Xing Qiangshi could no longer make a sound. He was like a drowning person that had sunk to the bottom and could no longer call for help. Xing Qiangshi, give up on your own Tao and stimulate your own sacrifice, abandonment, and saving Tao. Only then can you truly refine the sins and use them for yourself. If you don't give up on the will to devour everything, you will be affected by the sins and your will will completely dissipate. Gu Chunsha guided Xing Qiangshi. He did not have any intention of killing Xing Qiangshi. He hoped to change Xing Qiangshi's way of thinking and make him accept the ideals of the calming immortal department. Just like Longevity God was originally against the calming immortal department, but now he completely accepted the ideals of the calming immortal department. He wholeheartedly worked for the calming immortal department and sacrificed himself every day. Such a spirit was called being of one heart and one mind. The final thing Gu Qinsha wanted to do was to make all living beings of one heart and one mind. Xing Qiangshi was also one of the living beings, and he stood at the pinnacle of all living beings. If he could be of one mind with the Celestial Placid Department, then that would be a massive boon. Even though a Xing Qiang clan member's sincere sacrifice wouldn't be able to resurrect a sage, it wouldn't be too far off. In particular, many of the primordial heavenly sons had not been able to reform the Xing Qiang clan. But if Gu Qinsha could do it, then his reputation and achievements would far surpass all of the primordial heavenly sons. When this kind of reputation spread throughout the Ming dynasty, it was an enormous resource. It made the prestige even stronger and the order of the court even tighter. At this moment, Xing Qiongshi had already fallen completely silent. It was as if she was resisting her sins, or perhaps she was considering whether or not she should give up on her own Tao and convert to the Tao of Gu Qingsha and Celestial Jing. Gu Qingsha didn't care about him. He knew that Xing Qiongshi wouldn't die so easily, so he didn't care about him. In any case, Xing Qiongshi wouldn't give up on his Tao until the very last moment. It wasn't that easy to change the Xing Qiong clan. He started to circulate the heaven and earth by himself, absorbing all the sins and karmic retribution into his saint heart of truth. He wanted to perfect this saint heart of truth. His divine Tao was the Tao of mending the heavens, the Tao of reforming the heavens. Now, he even had a great heart that was willing to bear all sins and karmic retribution for all living beings. This was not a false wish. Instead, he was truly doing it, bearing the sins of the great desolate Ian's dragon sect. After that, the various mental cultivation techniques of the great desolate Ian's dragon sect spread out, making everyone in the world sage. The way of the sacred dragon had become the norm. Such a heaven-defying act would result in a great deal of sin, but Gu Qingsha was willing to bear it. Countless sins and karmic retribution were incorporated into Gu Qingsha's saint heart of truth. With the intention of mending the heavens, he carried out the task of reforming the heavens and accommodated the karmic retribution of all living things. This saint heart was probably the most powerful saint heart in history. This sage Tao was close to eternity, imperishable, indestructible, and undying. Apsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 791. Gu Qingsha was just a step away from condensing his saint heart of truth. Once he condensed it, he would be a sage, and his cultivation and combat power would rise to a whole new level. Of course, this step was very difficult, much more difficult than when the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha became a sage. Omega, but if he advanced, he could basically sweep the world. If he became a heavenly lord, he would be invincible. The sins of the primordial dragon sect poured into Gu Qingsha's body as nourishment, all gathering in his saint heart of truth. The saint heart of truth grew strong after receiving nourishment. This saint heart evolved into all things, created the universe, enjoyed limitless, and governed time and space. As the strongest saint heart of truth since ancient times, the energy needed to condense it was naturally unprecedentedly strong. After an unknown period of time, Gu Qingsha's saint heart absorbed more and more sins, but there were no signs of it being contaminated. This was because the sins of the heavenly Tao were merit to him. And after absorbing a large amount of sins, the primordial dragon sect suddenly gave birth to a life force. This life force was the complete awakening of his will. The primordial dragon sect, which was originally on the verge of death, naturally began to recover after its disease was absorbed by Gu Qingsha. Amidst this life force, Gu Qingsha's eyes flashed, and a large amount of sacred dragon chi burst out. Ha! Gu Qingsha laughed. So that's how it is. The sacred dragon chi is the primordial dragon sect's highest secret. As long as someone absorbs it, they can become a natural-born sage. How great is that? When the primordial dragon sect was plagued by sins, it could not produce this sacred dragon chi. But now that I have removed some of the sins, it is producing this chi continuously. With this chi, I can truly comprehend the Sacred Dragon Heart Sutra and even the structure of the primordial dragon sect. With Gu Qingsha's current vision and cultivation, even a colossus like the primordial dragon sect could not hide its secrets from him. His cultivation was many times stronger than before he entered the primordial dragon sect. The divine land gourd revolved again, absorbing all the sacred dragon chi that emerged. The rainbow-like sacred dragon chi contained the most mysterious heart sutra. The amount of sacred dragon blessing I absorbed this time is equivalent to the storage of at least several hundred people. In other words, I can use the sacred dragon blessing I've just absorbed to turn hundreds of ordinary people into innate saints. Gu Qingsha thought to himself, However, this is nothing. I will comprehend the complete holy dragon mental cultivation method and impart it to the people of the world. This is teaching people to fish. A mysterious will seeped into the sacred dragon chi. Runes after runes, something that transcended the laws of the heavenly Tao, emerged from the depths of Gu Chen's soul. At this moment, his saint heart of truth, which had yet to condense, had completely evolved into a massive computing ability. It seemed as though it could calculate everything. In an instant, this saint heart of truth could calculate trillions of times. At this moment, Gu Chen's saint heart of truth could no longer be described as a single heart, a million, or a billion. Every time he simultaneously calculated the situation, it was calculated in trillions of trillions. Even the calculations of heavenly venerables and heavenly longevity realm experts seemed very weak in front of him. Compared to him, the calculation ability of a heavenly venerable realm expert was like comparing a child who had just learned that 1 + 1 = 2 to a mathematician who observed the heavenly phenomena, calculated the stars, and was familiar with geography. After another few days and nights, a cultivation technique that could seize the fortune of heaven and earth was born from Gu Chen's saint heart of truth. The moment this cultivation technique was born, an even greater aura of sin surged over. It was as though all the sin in the world wanted to be added to his body. At this moment, Gu Chensha was not tolerated by heaven and earth. He was hunted by both ghosts and gods. In the heavenly Tao, even the evilest devil was as pure as a newborn lamb when compared to him. At this moment, Gu Chensha was the greatest villain. The Sacred Dragon Heart Sutra's calculation was perfect. Once it spread throughout the world, although not everyone could become a saint, the number of people born with the potential to become a saint would increase. This would cause the heavenly Tao to lose its balance. So that's how it is. Humans are the spirit of all living things. The heavenly Tao created humans as an experiment. However, it created even greater potential than itself. Because even the heavenly Tao cannot fathom the human heart, the heavenly Tao is afraid of humans. Hence, since ancient times, all kinds of disasters have descended. This caused humans to be unable to truly grow stronger. This is also the origin of the demon calamity. Whoever can completely control the human heart will be able to defeat the heavenly Tao. The essence of everything is derived from this change. After keeping the Sacred Dragon Heart Sutra into his body, Gu Chensha stood up. Suddenly, waves of dragon chi were born in the depths of the primordial dragon gate. This dragon chi was faintly discernible, with an obvious aura of nothingness. No one could figure it out. The origin of the primordial dragon gate has finally appeared. This is the dragonless chi. This dragonless chi is the true origin of the primordial dragon gate. Since it appeared to talk to me, what is the true meaning of this dragon gate's thoughts? Gu Chen's dragonless chi cupped his hands towards the outside and said, "Congratulations to the primordial dragon gate for awakening. Your sins have been eliminated. This time, you can get rid of the tumor." This dragonless chi gradually gathered and turned into a dragon head. This dragon head was extremely ancient, as if the primordial world existed in its eyes. Desolate truly existed in the depths of the dragon head's eyes. Did you absorb my sins and awaken me in the end? However, also snatched away a lot of the sacred dragon chi that was born from me and obtained the Sacred Dragon Heart Sutra from it. You have profited from this. You can leave now. Also, remember not to spread the Sacred Dragon Heart Sutra. Otherwise, both of us will suffer the greatest calamity. Once the balance of the world's spirit demons is lost, we will not be able to control the situation, leading to our deaths. This was what the primordial dragon gates will said. Ha ha ha. Gu Chensha laughed loudly and said, "Primordial dragon gate, is this all you know? This is too disappointing. Originally, I thought that once you woke up, you would cooperate with me and join the calming immortal department. You would operate the good fortune and change the heavenly mandate, creating a situation. However, you still hold on to the old view, not seeking to change the heavenly mandate, but struggling at death's door. How disappointing. Young man, I know how powerful you are. The primordial dragon gate's head, Chan Sha, took a while before he slowly said, however, you do not understand what will happen after the heavenly Tao collapses. We cannot judge such a situation. Although your cultivation is somewhat powerful, it is not enough to recreate the heavenly Tao and deal with the situation caused by the collapse of the heavenly Tao. Right now, you only know how to overthrow the heavenly Tao and do not know how to build and stabilize it. So, I cannot help you. If necessary, I will even stop you. What you said makes sense. Gu Qinsha actually did not refute the primordial dragon gate's will. However, you are afraid. The current me is indeed not confident in controlling the situation after the heavenly Tao collapses. However, as my cultivation increases, it is not impossible. If you help me, I will naturally help you advance again. With your help, my plan will be even more perfect. Then, I will gather the endless 36 treasures and open the door to the heavenly realm, obtaining the position of Emperor of Heaven. At that time, I will assist the heavenly talisman great to recreate the heavenly Tao and complete a truly ideal new world. Your conjectures are too childish. I still hope to maintain the status quo and not have any real turbulence. If there's a turbulence, not only will it be difficult for you and me to control, the world will basically cease to exist. This goes against your own ideals. The primordial dragon gates did not seem to be shaken. That's fine. Everyone has their own aspirations and cannot be forced. Gu Qinsha waved his hands. It was understandable for the primordial dragon gate to have such thoughts. Indeed, even a grand existence like the primordial dragon gate was extremely afraid of the imminent collapse of the heavenly Tao. After all, the primordial dragon gate was the highest existence in the world. If the heavenly Tao collapsed, it was very likely that it would be reduced to the mortal realm and cease to exist. Just like the nobles in the imperial court, when the imperial court was still around, they would naturally enjoy a luxurious life. But if the imperial court collapsed, the nobles would become worthless and might even become fat meat. However, primordial dragon gate, there are two scourges in your body. One is the primordial old man, and the other is the great spirit god. Both of them are harming you. I hope that you can hand these two over to me. How about it? I will erase all of your sins and restore you to your peak strength. Gu Qinsha took a step back and settled for the next best thing. I can't. The primordial dragon gate directly rejected the great spirit god, and I have signed an agreement to work for me in the future. As for the primordial old man, he is an existence that I nurtured and is similar to my son. How can I give him to you? These two are working for me. Actually, your arrival is also because the great spirit god lured me here and used your power to awaken me and erase my sins. This is all part of the great spirit god's plan. In a certain sense, his plan has succeeded. I must kill the great spirit god. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. Even you can't stop me. If you were at your peak, I would be very afraid. But now, you have just recovered from a serious illness, and I was the one who saved you. I already know many of your secrets. Even if I want to kill these two now, it won't be completely meaningful. You underestimate the primordial dragon gate. The will of the primordial dragon gate said, we traded. You obtained the holy dragon heart technique and helped me erase my sins. There is no longer any karma between us. Now that you barged in and wanted to kill my people, you have violated my taboo. If you leave now, we are still friends. If you insist on doing things your own way, we will be enemies. I have an idea. Gu Qinsha sighed. You rejected me after you woke up today. That's a huge mistake. You'll be the first one to fall among the 3 great artifacts. A 19-year-old girl's masturbation was exposed on a live streaming platform. Follow the official WeChat account. MavePie1. Long press 3 seconds to copy. Watch online. Chapter 792. Untainted Dragon's sect was stubborn. At the last moment, they still protected the great spirit god, which made Gu Chunsha extremely disappointed. Of course, Gu Chunsha would not let the great spirit god go just like that. After months of cultivation, he had absolute confidence that even within untainted dragon sect, he could capture and kill the great spirit god. Therefore, facing untainted dragon sect's final stance, Gu Chunsha could only ignore it. Untainted dragon sect. Gu Chunsha sighed. My determination cannot be shaken. If you try to stop me, then from now on, we are enemies. You should know that I can erase your sins, but I can also increase your sins. I can even steal your essence. Then come. The dragon head formed by untainted dragon sects was not afraid. Great existences like untainted dragon sect had never been afraid of anyone since ancient times. He just said these 4 words and then disappeared. The great spirit god does have some fate. Even at this time, untainted dragon sects is still protecting him. From this, it can be seen that he is not fated to die. However, I can directly cut off the fate problem of whether he is fated to die or not. I can decide whether he is fated to die or not, and I can also decide his fate. If I say he is fated, even if he is fated, he is fated. Gu Chunsha's voice became louder again. This time, his voice carried the power of destruction and devouring, seeping into every corner of untainted dragon sect. Woo 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 woo. In the depths of untainted dragon sect, all the dragon chi collapsed in an instant and rushed towards Gu Chunsha and the divine landlord. Now, all the heaven-mending dragon sect people were no longer worshipping, but cursing untainted dragon sect, the great spirit god, an untainted old man originally. Gu Chunsha had built a huge region and used the dragon chi to create heaven-mending dragon sect to save untainted dragon sect. Now, untainted dragon sect was protecting the great spirit god, so they were enemies. Gu Chunsha did not hold back anymore. Immediately, an unknown amount of dragon chi entered Gu Chunsha's body. The divine land gourd absorbed dozens of times more dragon chi than before. The divine prefecture bottle gourd shrank down again. Now it was only the size of soybean, and power surged inside of it. Then, the power of the divine prefecture shot out, causing even more inhabitants of the heavens to appear. The territory that Gu Chunsha had opened up was as large as the 4 wastelands and the divine continent. Even though it wasn't as large as the real world, it was still 1,000th of the area. It was more than enough to house 1 trillion heaven-mending people. After Gu Chunsha's fierce expansion, the number of heaven-mending realm increased by hundreds of billions. It should be known that the great Yonko court only had 30 billion people. However, the heaven-mending beings were not real humans. In essence, they were half-human, half-puppets created by Gu Chunsha using dragon chi. They were not perfect. If it could create a perfect human, it would probably need to cultivate to the celestial lord realm. Of course, the heaven-mending beings he created produced a huge amount of sacrificial power. It was easy to gather them and refine all kinds of things. Born from sacrificial power, the 36 treasures, the gate to heaven, the throne of the Emperor of Heaven, come out. Gu Chunsha pointed again. This time he was serious. More and more people were born to mend the heavens, and they joined the sacrificial industry. During the sacrificial process, a massive amount of sacrificial power gathered together and was refined by the ancient dust sand, which turned into the boundless 36 treasures. The 36 treasures gathered together and opened the heaven realm gate. Within the heaven realm gate, the throne of the celestial emperor appeared. Gu Chunsha sat on it again. The throne of the Emperor of Heaven was much more powerful than the prehistoric Dragon Gate, the Heaven's Sacrifice Talisman, and the Primordial Mist Tree. It was the #1 position in the heavens. Nothing could compare to it. As long as one sat on it, they could enjoy eternal life. Although Gu Chunsha did not obtain the throne, he used his rich knowledge to calculate some of the secrets of the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. Then he sat on it and simulated the aura of the Emperor of Heaven. The throne of the Emperor of Heaven was simulated by Gu Chunsha. He got closer and closer to it. This was the real preparation for gathering the 36 treasures and obtaining the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. At this time, Guchansha was refining a supreme treasure, and the throne of the Emperor of Heaven was the highest treasure he could refine. Guchansha comprehended these things in the depths of the prehistoric Dragon Gate. This was the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. Even if he created a virtual throne, his strength would increase greatly. This was why he used this ability to force the great spirit god to flee. Expand. Guchansha placed his palms together. Once again, more heaven-mending people were born. He used this place as a foundation and then expanded. He used this to refine the prehistoric Dragon Gate. If the prehistoric Dragon Gate was at its peak, it would be difficult for him to move forward. But now it was much simpler. Countless amounts of dragon energy were absorbed by him as resources. As more and more heaven-mending people appeared, his strength grew. With an open plan, he messed up everything in the depths of the prehistoric Dragon Gate. Too presumptuous. The will in the depths of the prehistoric Dragon Gate was finally angered by Guchansha. Suddenly, the entire space was moved, and all the dragon energy started to shrink. Guchansha couldn't absorb any more dragon energy. Now, the space that Guchansha was in suddenly withered and died. There was no more essence energy for him to absorb. This was the prehistoric Dragon Gate's trap tactic. Prehistoric Dragon Gate. Do you think that you could trap me with this method? You are so wrong. Chaos descend. Guchansha was still sitting on the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. He stretched out his hand and pulled. Instantly, a large area of space was torn apart and large amounts of chaos flowed down. Originally, cultivators who had cultivated to the primal chaos realm could break through space and absorb primal chaos chi at any time to refine what they needed. But if they were trapped in some dangerous place, they wouldn't be able to comprehend chaos and would be trapped to death. But when one's cultivation reached Guchansha's level, at least the prehistoric Dragon Gate couldn't stop him from sensing chaos. Not to mention the current prehistoric Dragon Gate. Even when it was at its peak, he could come and go as he pleased. This was because he was starting to comprehend the Tao of the Emperor of Heaven. Moreover, he already understood the prehistoric Dragon Gate. Chaos descended, and then, under his will, it was broken down and settled. Clear energy rose, and turbid energy sank. This caused the land that he created to be even more vigorous. There were actually all sorts of treasures and resources. Trillions of people could live a good life. That way, he could continue to expand. Just like that, Guchansha didn't care and just focused on expanding. He didn't take the initiative to attack. He just used his momentum to expand within the prehistoric Dragon Gate. In the end, he occupied all the land and swallowed all the essence energy. Lightning come. The prehistoric Dragon Gates finally couldn't sit still. It activated a secret technique, and instantly, millions of dragon roars gathered in the air, forming a huge lightning ball. This lightning ball was so big that it far exceeded a medium-sized world and reached the level of a major thousand world. A huge lightning ball the size of a major thousand world formed in the sky above Guchansha. Guchansha's expression changed. When he saw the huge lightning ball the size of a major thousand world, he knew that this attack was no small matter. This was because this was the same as a great thousand worlds exploding, or even stronger. Even if a dimensional realm were to explode, Guchansha wouldn't fear it, nor would he be injured. But an explosion on the level of a great thousand worlds was something he absolutely wouldn't be able to withstand. This might very well be the prehistoric Dragon Gate's strongest attack. Although the prehistoric Dragon Gate was at the peak of a major thousand world, it was far from what an ordinary major thousand world could compare to. However, this was probably the only attack that could cause a major thousand world to explode. The destructive power of a major thousand world condensed into lightning. It was unstoppable, and even with Guchansha's current strength, he didn't have any power to stop it. He could only take it head-on. Guchansha, enjoy this major thousand prehistoric dragon lightning. This is an attack that the prehistoric Dragon Gate consumes its own source energy. Even at its peak, the prehistoric Dragon Gate can only send out such lightning 3 times. Now, the prehistoric dragon gate can only send out one. At this time, the great spirit god's voice came out. Gu-Qinsha didn't care about the great spirit god, but the major 1,000 prehistoric dragon lightning. In the deepest corner of the prehistoric dragon gate, the prehistoric dragon gate and the great spirit god stood face to face. I wonder if the prehistoric dragon gate's attack will kill Gu-Qinsha. The great spirit god asked prehistoric old man. I'm afraid not. At most, this kid will be seriously injured. He can't be killed. Prehistoric old man said, it won't be easy to kill this kid. The great spirit god, you should know this. Why ask when you already know the answer? What I need to do now is to seize his source energy while he is seriously injured. Even if we can only obtain 1/10 of it, it will be a chance for us to break through to the sky origin realm. Seizing his source energy isn't difficult. This time our plan succeeded. We will use him to awaken the prehistoric dragon gate's source energy and then let it suppress him. Then we can get what we want. The great spirit god stared at Gu-Qinsha. At this time, the major 1,000 prehistoric dragon lightning was already falling towards Gu-Qinsha. It was unstoppable. Gu-Qinsha had established the divine prefecture and the 4 wilds in the depths of the prehistoric dragon gate. Now, the prehistoric dragon gate wanted to destroy them in one fell swoop. This was like a comet crashing into the earth. Rumble. The 4 wilds were destroyed first, then the divine prefecture. All the people mending the heavens had completely disappeared when the lightning fell. The power of the explosion of the boundless universe was in the center and locked on to attack. Heavenly venerables and heavenly longevity realm experts were all ants in front of this power. In the end, everything that Gu-Qinsha had created ceased to exist in the face of a lightning strike. He was the only one left. However, even he couldn't resist for long. The endless 36 treasures were destroyed, the gate of heaven was gone, and the throne of the Emperor of Heaven started to melt. In the end, the lightning fell completely, and Gu-Qinsha disappeared under the huge lightning. A 19-year-old girl masturbating on a live broadcast platform was exposed. Follow the official WeChat account. MamePie1. Long press for 3 seconds to copy, to watch online. Chapter 793. Here's our chance. The great spirit god watched as Gu-Qinsha crumbled in the face of the Kiliakazam primeval dragon lightning, and knew that his plan had succeeded. Even with this kid's ever-changing body and indestructible soul, he won't be able to withstand a single blow from an attack like this. This is the power of a Kiliakazam of worlds. If we face it, we'll die. Even our discarnate souls won't be able to escape. He definitely won't die, but he'll definitely be seriously injured. This is our chance to seize the essence. Prehistoric man stroked his beard, a smile on his face. As long as we don't get rid of him, we'll never have a day of peace. The great spirit god was ready. You're right. We'll definitely die if we run into this lightning. Even the Yorwild's dragon sect at its peak could only unleash it 3 times. Now it can only unleash it once. If this kid doesn't die from it, he's far stronger than we are. You can see that he's on the verge of becoming a saint. If he does, we won't be a match for him. Even if I fuse the primeval heart devil with the voodoo ancestor's side land, it'll be useless. Once he becomes a saint, we won't be able to escape unless we reach the heaven primal level. Defeating him is just wishful thinking. This kid is a freak, and so is Lord of the Sun Moon Gu-Qinsha, prehistoric man said. Once we take his essence, we'll join forces to subjugate Wan Senshi, Patriarch Heaven and Earth, the Immortal Lord, and the 3 Celestials. What do you think? That alliance is no small matter. Even if we both reach the Heaven primal level, we still won't be able to subjugate it. Patriarch Heaven and Earth controls the desolate heart, and the Immortal Lord controls the one God system. At its peak, it could challenge the Emperor Heaven Emperor and replace him. Then it could take control of the Tao of Heaven and replace it. Even though it's severely damaged, with less than 1/10,000th of its original power, it'll still be difficult to fight. In addition, Wan Senshi had secretly communicated with the immortal world and was working with its essence. Once activated, It would also be a huge trump card. There is no need to even mention the three heavenly venerables. They had signed an agreement with the primordial mist tree, and their cultivation was not inferior to yours or mine. If they activated all of their means, they would be extremely terrifying. However, because the heavenly Tao was about to collapse, the future situation would be extremely complicated. That's why none of them are willing to use their true reserve powers. Don't be fooled by the fact that they're fighting Gu Qinsha so fiercely. The truth is that none of the old-timers have been forced into desperate straits. Furthermore, Gu Qinsha knows that he won't force them too hard. He'll just slowly erode them. The great spirit god waved his hand. I'm good at scheming, but it's beyond my power to infiltrate the alliance of these old antiques. Why don't we work with Lord Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha? If we can devour him, it won't be too late for us to wipe out these old-timers. That's the only thing we can do, Yang Qi said. Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, had his quintessence and cultivation base devoured by this Gu Qinsha. Right now, he's recovering from his injuries, and he's trying to get in touch with the experts of the various great Kiliacosm of worlds. He's building up his power and gathering faith. Lord Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha's essence has been devoured, the great spirit god said. The mighty miracle god said. His quintessence is an existence produced by the entanglement of the ancient immortal treading and the heavenly Tao. It's impossible for it to be born again. When others lose their quintessence, they can slowly extract it from the primal chaos and slowly recover it. However, the primal chaos doesn't contain such a thing. That's why once a portion is gone, it'll forever be gone. This kid's ferocity will forever be reduced a little. The great spirit god and Yang Qi were communicating telepathically. In the blink of an eye, the Kiliacosm primordial draconic lightning descended, engulfing Gu Qinsha. As it swept through, everything was reduced to nothingness. Gu Qinsha had also completely disappeared, as if he had perished. In the depths of the untainted Dragon Gate, a storm rose up and spread outwards. Finally, a huge tremor erupted. A disaster had descended. The interior of the untainted Dragon Gate seemed to have undergone a fundamental structural change. The Sin and Dragon Qi that were originally contained mixed together and turned into a paste. It returned to the era before the chaos was developed, before the Big Bang. The Urwild's Dragon Gate underwent a major reshuffle. Now's the time. Attack! The great spirit god roared in the face of the tempest created by the Kiliacosm primordial draconic lightning. That's where the kid disappeared. He will definitely gather and be reborn. We will take advantage of the moment when he is reborn to seize his essence and divide it among us. Old Man Desolation also rushed over. The two of them had already reached the place where Gu Qinsha had disappeared. Sure enough, an aura suddenly emerged from this place, about to condense into a physical form. It was Gu Qinsha's aura. Good lad. When mighty miracle god saw Gu Qinsha's situation, the fear on his face intensified. However, he didn't show any mercy. Suddenly, he unleashed a ferocious attack. A talisman appeared in front of him. On the talisman, there was a small sword and a small saber. The sword and saber crossed each other, forming a killing formation. Limitless sword, limitless saber. At this moment, Yang Qi's heart trembled. These are the two most powerful treasures of the endless 36 treasures. They're specialized in battle and killing. This talisman was formed by absorbing the essence of the sword and saber. When it is used, it is equivalent to the full power of the limitless sword and limitless saber. Although the saber and the sword are not in the hands of the great spirit god, he seems to know where they are and can even contact them and borrow their power. If that's the case, it seems like the reincarnated person of the limitless sword and limitless saber has appeared. Who is it? I might be able to find him, capture him, and snatch his fate and treasures. Breaking through to the next realm will be an instant. The talisman appeared. The saber and sword slashed. It twisted towards Gu Qinsha, who had just formed a body. Gu Qinsha's body immediately dissipated, and he could no longer reform. Instead, he turned into a large amount of essence that escaped in all directions. Ha ha ha! When the Great Spirit God saw this, he immediately laughed. Even if you are as cunning as a ghost, after being slashed by the limitless saber and limitless sword, you will be heavily injured once again. I will be able to use this source energy for my own use. Absorb. Woo woo woo. In an instant, the Great Spirit God's body turned into a huge vortex. This vortex changed violently, and it was about to absorb Gu Chench's source energy. At this time, Yang Qi was also absorbing, and the two of them were about to divide Gu Chench's source energy. In a few breaths' time, Gu Chench's scattered source energy was completely divided by the Great Spirit God and Yang Qi. The two of them gathered the source energy in their bodies and were about to refine it when they suddenly realized that what they were absorbing was not source energy, but a type of sin. Ah! Yang Qi was the first to scream. His body was covered in black gas, and his expression was miserable. It was as if he had entered a cultivation deviation, and he was hysterical. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws, and he was on the verge of insanity. Streams of energy burst out of his body, and it seemed like his own source energy was flowing away. Abandoned self. At the most crucial moment, Yang Qi's body moved, and the essence energy in his body began to burn. His original body turned into ashes, and a cloud of green smoke came out of the ashes. The green smoke condensed into a body that fled into the depths of the abyss. The ashes wriggled, and in the end, they turned into Gu Chencha. Gu Chencha's expression was the same as ever. I can turn sin into virtue, and at the same time, I can turn virtue into sin. You actually want to devour my source energy? Aren't you courting death? The Great Spirit God, you devoured my source energy, and now you're feeling good. Give me your source energy as well. Rumble. A huge explosion appeared on the Great Spirit God's body. Brat, you win. Just like Yang Qi, the Great Spirit God's body burned up and turned into ashes. Freed from his suffering, he released Gu Chench's source energy and fled. This was an extremely powerful secret art called the Way of Liberation from Chaos. It was the most powerful art that Yang Qi and the Great Spirit God had comprehended in the Dragon Gate of Chaos. The Great Spirit God, do you want to leave? Gu Chench's source energy condensed again, and his essence seemed to have been reborn. Yang Qi can leave, but you can't. If it weren't for the Kiliacosm primordial dragon lightning, I wouldn't have been able to cultivate my Saint Heart of Truth, and I wouldn't have been able to upgrade the Divine Prefecture Gourd to another level. Right now, the Divine Prefecture Gourd is no weaker than any of the endless treasures. The Kiliacosm primordial dragon lightning is good stuff. It's the best way to refine my body and treasures. I have to thank you for your arrangements. Of course, these arrangements were all within my expectations. Now that I've become a saint, my Saint Heart of Truth is unprecedentedly powerful, and its essence even surpasses the Heart of Infinity. This is all thanks to you. I have to refine you into the Divine Prefecture Gourd, make you repent in the end, and reward you. As he spoke, Gu Chench's body moved slightly, and the Divine Prefecture Gourd appeared above his head again. At this moment, the Divine Prefecture Gourd could no longer be seen. It was between existence and non-existence. It was thousands of times smaller than a speck of dust. It seemed to be just a thought. With a slight expansion, it became as tall as a person. Its color was chaotic, and a perfect divine prefecture seemed to be condensing in the depths of the gourd. In the center of the perfect divine prefecture was the Sin Province. However, the Sin Province in the perfect divine prefecture was no longer a demonic domain, but a capital city, the center of the entire divine prefecture. At the very center of the Sin Province was a palace. In the depths of the palace, there was a throne. That was the throne of Emperor Heaven. This was the perfect divine prefecture in Gu Chench's heart. Apsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 794. Gu Chencha did not die in the tribulation. Of course, under the power of the primordial thunder of the Kiliacosm, which was equivalent to the explosion of a great thousand world, he was seriously injured. If he was not injured at all, it would be too exaggerated. After all, his current cultivation level was low. One had to know that a great thousand world was different from a medium-sized world. The true great thousand power was really vast and vast. Why was Gu Chansha able to sweep the world? Actually, a large part of the reason was that he could use the power of the sun and moon great thousand world. The sun and moon were great thousand worlds themselves and were even stronger than the three supreme god artifacts. Great thousand worlds were also split into different levels. The low-grade great thousand realms were the profound origin great thousand realms, the central great thousand realms, the Saha great thousand realms, and so on. They were born in the turbulent flow of space and time, and were nurtured by all living things. Although these realms were strong, they had not truly awakened the essence of the great thousand realms. The higher level ones were the Sacrifice Talisman, Primordial Dragon Gate, and Hongmeng Tree. Above them were the spiritual world, celestial world, sun, and moon. Above them was the central plains god continent. Then there was the endless world, which was the heaven realm. The heaven realm didn't belong to the great thousand world. The core of the heaven realm was the position of Emperor Heaven. Only by obtaining this position could one truly grasp the source power of the heaven realm and merge with the heavenly Tao. One could borrow the strongest power of the heavenly Tao. This was the strongest method. Gu Chensha had already become a saint and cultivated the Tao Realm 33 transformation, Truth Saint Heart. He reached this realm after being killed by the great thousand primordial dragon lightning. But his essence energy was badly damaged, otherwise he would have been able to trap the great spirit god and old man primordial. These two experts had no way of escaping from Gu Chensha, who had become a saint. But Gu Chensha's essence energy was badly damaged, so old man primordial fled first. Gu Chensha didn't chase. He just stared at the great spirit god. Only by killing this god could he resolve the hatred in his heart. A stream of primal chi shot out. Gu Chensha's divine land gourd had locked onto the great spirit god, preventing the great spirit god from escaping the transformation. Break! Gu Chensha pinched his palms together to form a rune, and a huge power brewed and rotated within his palms. Then a sound like that of a landslide or a tsunami was released from his palms. The great spirit god, you won't be able to escape today. I can mend the heavens. I can change the heavens. Have a taste of my newly comprehended Emperor of Heaven Fist. Gu Chensha's body floated over. He used the divine land gourd to absorb the great spirit god, and then his fist reached his side. Gu Chensha's fist technique was always changing, and so was his martial arts. Between one punch, heaven and earth changed color. Qian Kuan changed position, the world swallowed, and chaos gathered and dispersed. The great spirit god Chensha's attack was full of confidence. The fist contained the true essence of the Emperor of Heaven, and he knew that he couldn't block it. Even though he had cultivated since the primordial age, plotted step by step, first became a true god, then escaped Gu Taxian's seal, then pretended to cooperate with the sorcerer ancestor, then devoured the sorcerer ancestor, conspired with the primordial heart demon, merged with them, and reached an agreement with the primordial dragon sect, and had a great chance of cultivating to the divine Yuan realm. He still couldn't do it in front of Gu Chansha. No, I'm the strongest, and I'm good at scheming. You're just a lowly existence. How can you fight against me and kill me? Gu Chansha, I'll let you know that even Gu Taxian can't kill me, let alone you. At that moment, the great spirit god once again showed an unexpected technique. Under the attack of Gu Chensha's fist technique, he disappeared. This body was completely gone. It had gone through nirvana, disappeared, or merged with the heavenly Tao. After a saint died, they became nourishment for the heavenly Tao. After a normal person died, their body became nourishment for the earth. After a saint died, he became nourishment for the heavenly Tao. At that moment, the body of the great spirit god died, disappeared, and was gone. A dead person, Gu Qinsha couldn't do anything. Gu Qinsha, you can't kill me. My true technique is to reverse myself in the midst of death. Other powerful beings, even the patriarchs of the heaven and earth, can't revive after they die. But I can. Even if I die, I can come back to life. The great spirit god said, Gu Qinsha, now that I've died here, I'll revive another place. This is the authority of the heavenly Tao that I've comprehended. Kid, you're still lacking when it comes to certain aspects of the heavenly Tao. Gu Qinsha's fist missed. Just like that, the spirit god died and fused with the heavenly Tao. No one knew where he would revive. This is the true technique of the great spirit god. Gu Qinsha didn't continue to chase after him. He knew that he couldn't do so anymore. There was no way to attack a dead person. Even now that the heavenly Tao has weakened, if a sage wants to revive, they need a huge amount of sacrificial power. That sacrificial power also needs to be of high quality. If it's an ordinary person, no matter how many, if the sacrificial power isn't high quality and pure, they won't be able to revive the sage. Gu Qinsha thought silently. But all in all, the stronger the person, the higher the requirement for sacrificial power to revive. But it's clear that the great spirit god doesn't need sacrificial power to revive. That's his greatest uniqueness. No wonder he's the most cunning and terrifying one. I still didn't expect him to have such ability. Gu Qinsha calmed down and absorbed the power to recover his vitality. Just at that moment, a huge power from the depths of the primordial dragon gate collapsed and spat out. He was actually ejected from the primordial dragon gate. Then the huge primordial dragon gate and the surrounding 5 elements, great 1,000 worlds completely disappeared. They'd actually moved to another space-time. Primordial Dragon Gate. Gu Qinsha opened the Primordial Dragon Gate and didn't chase after it. Actually, he'd already achieved his goal this time. With the help of the Primordial Dragon Lightning that the Primordial Dragon Gate dropped, he'd finally passed the last hurdle. He'd become a sage and his strength had greatly increased. The Divine Land Gourd had also become more and more powerful. He wanted to suppress the Primordial Dragon Gate, but now was not the time. After all, the Primordial Dragon Gate was a treasure that was as famous as the Heaven Sacrifice Talisman. Even if it was very weak now, if he wanted to suppress it, he wouldn't be able to do it in a short time. Moreover, as the Primordial Dragon Gate, if it exploded, it was unknown whether Gu Qinsha could suppress it or not. Because right now, Gu Qinsha's vitality had been greatly damaged. Even if he used all his means to suppress the Primordial Dragon Gate, he wouldn't be able to refine it. The Primordial Dragon Gate was fighting like a cornered beast and would greatly restrict him. At this time, if other enemies came to attack, he would die without a burial place. Moreover, he calculated that even if he fully recovered to suppress the Primordial Dragon Gate, he would probably need the Divine Land Gourd's power. Apart from that, it would take decades of painstaking work. Now that the world was in full swing, where would he find the time to give him decades of time? Moreover, he had many enemies. In order to deal with the Primordial Dragon Gate, he wouldn't be able to do anything else. What a pity. If the Primordial Dragon Gate voluntarily submitted to me, it would be a wonderful thing. Now that he has his own ideas, I can only give up. Fortunately, I have cultivated to a sage and comprehended the Tao of the Emperor of Heaven. I have perfected the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, Dragon Creation Sutra, and Dragon Nurturing Sutra. Under normal circumstances, I can create more innate sages. Gu Qinsha let out a long breath. I have control over the people of the Divine Land. This is my greatest advantage. After I return, I will fuse the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra into my human dragon fist and spread it across the world to cultivate. Although I can't say that everyone can become a sage, the upper echelons of my Calmness Celestial Department will have at least tens of thousands of innate sages. This way, the quality and quantity of our sacrificial offerings will increase by 1,000 times. This is not all. If everyone in the world cultivates the human dragon fist, they can eliminate fools. Now, if everyone in the world has top-grade aptitude, the power of sacrificial offerings I will obtain will be able to turn the world upside down and crush any existence. After Gu Chansha obtained the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, he knew what a treasure was. The three divine weapons were actually not as good as his painstakingly managing the world, controlling the fate and sacrificial offerings of the world. If he could turn everyone in the world into top-grade aptitude, suppressing the master of the sun and moon, Gu Tiansha, would not be a problem. If he could turn everyone in the world into genius aptitude, he would be truly invincible. He could even forcefully open the door to the heaven realm and obtain the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. If everyone in the world was a peerless genius, an innate saint, then everyone would become a saint. At that level, reaching the heavenly Tao would not be an exaggeration. It had to be said that in the great clans, a single genius was the blessing of countless generations. Geniuses could cultivate the 18 transformations of the great Tao and live for 1,000 years. Geniuses were 1 in 100 million. Gu Qinshan knew that managing the world was the trend of the times. It was a true, overt plot. Collecting treasures from everywhere was actually a small path. That was why he was very satisfied. After obtaining the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, he went back to perform some augury and enlightenment, then fused it into the human dragon fist. First, he would increase the fighting prowess of the calmness immortal department. Whoosh! His body had already left, and a moment later, he was inside the calmness immortal department, in a little primordial tree, within the 1,000-dimensional world of the mortal life's wish sphere. It was now the end of the 34th year of the heavenly talisman. He had been cultivating in the Urwild's Dragon Gate for many years. The world was very calm, and was still developing majestically. Many of the old-timers were forming alliances, waiting for an opportunity. Many of them knew that there would be a huge disturbance in the 36th year of the heavenly talisman. The Great Tribulation would begin that year, and the world would undergo new transformations. That was why no one made a move, waiting for an opportunity. Whoever made a move first would reveal a flaw and fall into the enemy's trap. Chinshire back. Celestial Martial Saint was in the middle of cultivating, so he couldn't help but ask, Chunshire back. Apsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 795. Now that I've become a saint, I've gained a lot. I've acquired the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, but it still needs to be perfected and fused into the human dragon fist. Then, I can perform divination with the martial sage, and all of the higher-ups of the Celestial Tranquility Department will work together to create a martial art that can be passed down for all eternity. That's right. Gu Qinsha said, this has to be done quickly. Once this martial art is comprehended, we can first spread it within the Calming Immortal Department and choose loyal and ambitious people to impart it to. Then, our sacrifices and destiny will increase greatly. This will give me more power to subdue the primordial Meng tree, break the alliance of the 3 celestial venerables, and save Chong Weiyang. Gu Qinsha hadn't forgotten his original goal. The reason he had gone to the Urwild Dragon Gate was to kill the Great Spirit God. At the same time, he could use the sinful energy within the Urwild's Dragon Gate to temper himself and become a saint. Only then would he have the confidence to save Chong Weiyang. That was because the 3 celestials, the Dharma Saint, Patriarch Heaven and Earth, Xin Xian, Wu Dangkong, the Immortal Lord, and Wan Senshi had formed an enormous alliance. The alliance was so stable that not even the current Gu Chansha was confident in being able to defeat it. After all, each of the old-timers had their own trump cards. Of course, if Gu Chansha were to pass on the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, everyone would become a saint, and their latent talent would increase. Sacrifices would sweep through the world like a cosmic tide, and his strength would increase far more than the alliance. Operations were fundamental. Under Gu Qinsha's summons, Lu Baiwe, the Lord of 7 Stars, Zhuge, the longevity god, and even the Marquis of Mortal Life, the King of Mortal Life, the God of 5 Seasons, Lu Yu, Jin Suibua, Long Zaifei, the 4 Divine Beasts, the 4th, Yuan Lu, Long Yuyun, Ling Xiaofei, Chang Yuzhou, Yiming, Yizheng, and the rest of the older generation were all gathered here. Some of them followed Gu Qinsha from the start. For example, the eunuch's godson was already a top talent. He had made up for the flaws in his body and reached the 20th transformation of Tao realm, gather and scatter impermanence. But because the blessing of the holy dragon was not enough, the little godson did not become a saint. Now that the time was right, Gu Qinsha was ready to create this child. He had followed him for so long. So he had to become a saint and then reach the god realm. With so many talents in front of him, Gu Qinsha was filled with emotions. He thought back to how he had come to Xianzhou alone, gathering subordinates and building a foundation. Back then, it was tough for him to move forward. Who would have thought that he would be able to truly rule over the God continent and even compete with the Heaven Tao? Even one of the 3 God artifacts, the primordial dragon sect, had a retreat. I've already figured out the secret of the untainted dragon gate. I'm not in a hurry. I can go and subdue the sacrificial decree. You should know that even now, I still have half of the control over the sacrificial decree. In the past, my father wrote the words man conquers heaven and suppressed the power of the heavenly Tao. Now, I've already comprehended the true meaning of man conquers heaven, which is to gather the hearts of the people. From the hearts of the people, I can extract the substance that can surpass the heavenly Tao. This is the basic theory of man conquers heaven. An idea suddenly popped up in Gu Qinsha's mind. With my current strength, I might be able to extract the substance that surpasses the Tao of heaven from the human heart. If I insert this substance into the heaven sacrificial talisman, I will be able to expel Wu Dangkong's will and the arrangement of the Tao of heaven. Then, I can control this talisman and refine it into the divine prefecture gourd. In addition, there are many fundamental secrets in this talisman, which are related to some of the subtle mysteries of the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. In this world, the most powerful magic treasure was the throne of the Celestial Emperor. It was just that no one had ever sat on this throne, and no one had ever sat on it. In the Heaven Tao, since the creation of the world and the Big Bang of chaos, no one had the virtue and power to sit on the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. Moreover, the relationship between the throne of the Emperor of Heaven and the Heaven Tao was not that of superior and subordinate, but equal. It could be said that the Emperor of Heaven was the personified side of the Heaven Tao, the concrete side. The Emperor was the subordinate of the Heaven Tao. Gu Qinsha comprehended the Emperor investiture skill and then combined it with the true meaning of the infinity treasure, swallowed the infinity umbrella, and obtained many of the deepest secrets. Finally, he knew the secret of the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. Therefore, he had to obtain the throne of the Emperor of Heaven in order to have a chance to defeat the Heaven Tao and build his ideal new world. To change the fate of heaven, he had to refine and control the throne of the Emperor of Heaven to be considered successful. Just like in the secular world, to change the fate of heaven, one had to become the emperor himself. At this time, the upper echelons of the Tranquil Immortal Department were all gathered, including Tai Xiandu, Ji Qingwu, and the others. After these people gathered, Gu Qinsha waved his hand and sacrificed the secret of the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. It turned into an article, a diagram, and a mysterious will. It kept spinning, forming a sphere for everyone to see. Everyone, this is the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra that I obtained from the Dragon Gate of the untainted universe. According to the theory, as long as ordinary people follow the prescribed order, they will first learn the Dragon-Raising Sutra, then the Dragon-Making Sutra, and finally the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. After they reach the great perfection, they can turn from fools to natural-born saints. However, theory is different from practice. In practice, if the 3 major sutras are spread throughout the world, I estimate that 1 in 100 million people will have the aptitude to become natural-born saints. Moreover, if we publicize it now, it will cause a huge commotion. Therefore, we have to comprehend this sutra again and create it again, turning it into our Tao of the Dragon. Everyone, transfer your wisdom into this ball of light. Let's start calculating. Gu Qinsha first transferred his wisdom into it. The Holy Dragon Heart Sutra is indeed a heaven-defying Tao. It seizes good fortune, which is no small matter. Although it can make fools become natural-born saints, because it reverses heaven and fate, they are destined to be surrounded by sin, and the karma will not be shallow. Maybe a golden core cultivator can live for thousands of years, but after he cultivates the dragon-raising, dragon-making, and Holy Dragon Heart Sutra, he will immediately encounter a tribulation and die. Sometimes, defying the heavens and changing fate is very dangerous, Chang Yuzhou said. This Tao must be taught carefully. Indeed, you are a fool to begin with. You have low-grade aptitude. If you want to forcefully become a genius, you will have to take a great risk. It is impossible that you will not have a smooth sailing. If you want to change fate, you will have to throw caution to the wind and have the courage to perish together with fate, challenging fate. The martial sage said, "This is something that cannot be criticized." Actually, publicizing the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra now is indeed not a good choice. Instead, it is a bad move. Not to mention the chaos this sutra will cause if it falls into the hands of ambitious people. Even if a large number of people obtain it and forcefully cultivate it, they will definitely encounter a series of tribulations and suffer heavy casualties. Therefore, we have to improve it. That is the way of the king. Qinsha, you should have comprehended the supreme transformation of turning sin into merit, right? That is why you have the confidence to spread it after improving it. Lu Baiwei stared at Gu Qinsha. That's right. The enemy of others is my hero. The sin of the heavens is my merit. If I spread this Tao and let everyone in the world become a saint, then they will also have sins. As one of the initiators, my sins are greater than those of the cultivators. What I need to do now is to let the sins of the cultivators be added to me. The karmic retribution of the sins of the world will belong to me. The greater the sin, the greater my merit, and the greater my strength, Gu Qinsha said. This is what I want. However, I feel that there's a limit to how much sin you can turn into merit. If there is too much and you can't convert it, you might end up making a fool of yourself, the martial sage asked. Indeed, there will be such trouble. Gu Qinsha nodded. However, this is also a chance to train me. If there is no pressure, I might not be able to reach the highest realm. That makes sense. No matter what, let us start calculating. With a thought, Chang Yuzhou poured his wisdom into it. Giants of the ancient Buddhist sect, pour your wisdom into it as well. Everyone, let us comprehend it together. At this time, Gu Qinsha waved his hand again. Suddenly, a force opened up layers of space and time. That giant Permitha, Golden Mountain. This was a dimensional realm, a pure land of bliss that countless giants of the ancient Buddhist sect had created together. In the past, the Permitha Golden Mountain was shrouded in mist. But now, Gu Qinsha and everyone in the Celestial Tranquility Department could clearly see that the Permitha Golden Mountain was filled with holy lands. Many giant shadows of Buddhas were faintly discernible. These Buddhas were not alive, but had already fallen. But because the ancient Buddhist sect was flourishing in the past, they had spread their teachings to countless worlds. Thus, the accumulated power of faith was extremely vast, allowing the dead Buddhas to manifest their spirits. Later, the power of worship on the Permitha Golden Mountain was almost used up. Finally, they were persuaded by Gu Qinsha and formed an alliance with Gu Qinsha, allowing them to spread the teachings of the Buddhist sect throughout the world. This was how they gathered so much faith. Such power of faith allowed the operation of the Permitha Golden Mountain to continue. Now, with a point of Gu Qinsha's finger, the Permitha Golden Mountain once again injected a large amount of power of faith. This power of worship was injected into the Permitha Golden Mountain, and the Buddhas of the Buddhist sect immediately came to life. They put their palms together before Gu Qinsha and also injected their wisdom into the ball of light. In an instant, the ball of light seemed like it was about to split open. The light of wisdom and the power of imagination shot out from within. This light could penetrate countless universes. While he was calculating, Gu Qinsha's body also released light. Wherever this light shone, everything would be clear. There was no doubt at all. This was the light of omniscience, the light of omnipotence. Under his wisdom and leading deduction, the light of the ball of light finally started to settle down, turning into many articles and diagrams. This was the perfect human dragon Tao that he had recalculated. The human dragon fist has finally integrated the holy dragon mantra into it. Gu Qinsha kept these articles and diagrams into the divine land gourd and stood up. The human dragon fist can now be gradually spread out. Apsid. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 796. This person's dragon fist has not been perfected. Even with our wisdom and the wisdom of the ancient Buddhist sects, Buddhas is still not enough. The martial art we want to establish is to reverse the heavens. Everyone will become a sage, free and unfettered, yet self-restrained. Everyone can do as they please without breaking the rules. Such an achievement is not something we can comprehend with our current cultivation. The martial sage said, although the martial sage had become a heavenly venerable, he was still unable to fuse the holy dragon mantra into the human dragon fist. The human dragon fist has a total of 36 levels of variations, from shallow to deep. Gu Qinsha said, this person's dragon fist can already allow everyone in the world to cultivate to the genius realm. As for advancing to the sage realm, that still requires calculations. I'm afraid that only I can cultivate to the heavenly venerable realm. However, the people of our calming immortal department can cultivate some innate sages based on the holy dragon mantra. It won't be a problem for hundreds or even thousands of them. Thousands of innate sages. Juvia thought about it. Then our calming immortal department will truly be the world's #1 power. If it were any other sect, even if it was the Great Spirit God, he would not dare to casually spread the mantra. He would not dare to create his own subordinates and turn them into innate sages because they would suffer from sin and heavenly wrath. Sin is my merit. The Great Spirit God does not have an ability like mine, so he is naturally afraid. However, the Great Spirit God seems to have reached some kind of agreement with the heavenly Tao, or become a lackey of the heavenly Tao, resurrecting from the dead and dying again. I do not have such an ability, and no one in the world does. Gu Qinsha continued to study the Great Spirit God's ability. However, if my cultivation improves further, I will be able to break this ability of the Great Spirit God. He will be unable to live or die in front of me. If we choose loyal and reliable disciples to pass on the human dragon fist we comprehend, we will be able to produce thousands of innate sages within a year. It will be of great benefit to us. Liu Baiyue said, the Calming Immortal Agency still has a large group of experienced, loyal, and devoted experts. Moreover, their fate is connected to the Calming Immortal Agency. In recent years, the Calming Immortal Department had been focusing on finding and educating talented people. Countless young people had joined the Calming Immortal Department. Not only did the Calming Immortal Department have eyes and ears all over the world, but there were also all kinds of hot-blooded and ambitious people emerging one after another. It was very simple to select people from among them and teach them the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra. This must be done. Action. Gu Qinsha said, this matter is to increase my strength and foundation. Now, I will recover my strength and consolidate my saint realm. After that, I will locate the primordial tree and save Chong Weiyang. It's time to subdue Do Yu and obtain her immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. As he spoke, Gu Qinsha closed his eyes. An unprecedentedly huge heart pulsated within his body. Every time it pulsated, endless chaos would descend and enter the little Hongmeng tree. All kinds of worlds within the little Hongmeng tree were immediately filled up and became more abundant. Countless mines and treasures were born. There were also all kinds of extinct primordial spiritual herbs being nurtured one by one. Gu Chensha could now extract Xiantian's spiritual treasures and all kinds of substances from the chaos. What about extinct primordial spiritual herbs? While he was cultivating, the little Hongmeng tree had already begun another round of evolution. The ultimate goal of the little Hongmeng tree was not to evolve into the true primordial tree. Gu Chensha, who had comprehended the Tao of the Emperor of Heaven, felt that the true primordial tree was no longer strong. He wanted to refine this tree into the Emperor of Heaven tree and complement the Emperor of Heaven throne. The sacred heart of universal truth within his body continued to circulate, emanating an aura that seemed to be above all things in the world. This was what made him truly powerful, recovering and consolidating his cultivation base. The entire department of Tranquil Immortals was also constantly operating, increasing the speed at which it operated. The world once again entered a state of explosion. In the Sin province, the devil calamity was about to descend. Devil clouds shrouded the land, and Gu Chensha created the human dragon assembly of the Buddhist sect to fight against the devil. Later on, the human dragon assembly and the Buddhist sect truly interacted, developing into the Zen sect culture and integrating into the Yonko civilization. At this moment, it was winter of the 34th year of the Heavenly Talisman. The weather was extremely cold, and heavy snow fell, blanketing the earth in white. Inside and outside the divine continent, every drop of water would turn into ice. In the past, such heavy snow would freeze countless people to death. But now, it was bustling with activity. There were roads, railways, airships, sea and air routes. There were even all sorts of teleportation formations that transported resources to various places. Every household had enough to eat and wore warm clothes. Everyone was practicing martial arts and studying. The fate of the people was flourishing, suppressing everything else. On a mountain in Sin province, the snow sealed the mountain. However, there were two people standing at the peak. They wore fur cloaks and looked really noble. They were disciples of rich families. The situation of the world is now in the hands of the Department of Tranquil Immortals. Changjian, why are you looking at the situation of Gu Tanjian Prefecture? The two people on the peak were actually Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian. They were the third-generation disciples of the Gu family imperial family. Gu Tanjian was the son of the great emperor Gu Hongsha, while Gu Changjian was the son of the crown prince Gu Xiansha. I originally thought that the devil calamity would cause chaos, and I would be able to rise up and break the lockdown of the Department of Tranquil Immortals. I have already gathered many tribes in the depths of the wilderness, close to 10 billion people, to form a barbarian race empire to counterattack. Gu Changjian said, however, I haven't had a chance. What can I do? That Gu Chensh's strongest method is to create the general of the common people, the common people marquis, the king of common people. He has a firm grasp of the world's order. The barbarian race empire that I built will probably be wiped out at any moment. That year, Gu Changjian was instructed by the Dharma saint to mix into the barbarian race and hide. He subdued the tribes and gathered faith. In the end, he did some big things. Although he wasn't able to unify the barbarian race, he was the one with the most hope of unifying the barbarian race. Unifying the barbarian race and killing his way back would allow him to obtain the barbaric heart. This was the Dharma saint's plan, but now it had become a dream. The Yonko expanded more and more in the wilderness, building steel and concrete cities in what was once the primordial forest. In the face of such urbanization, the barbarian race couldn't fight back at all. A long time ago, the barbarian race was known for their strength. A barbarian could defeat 5 or even more than 10 ordinary soldiers. But now, the barbarian race had completely lost their physical advantage. The people of the divine Yonko all practiced martial arts and received good elixirs to nourish themselves. Their bodies were strong, and they also had the advantage of armor and firearms. Sometimes, a person wearing a steel flying armor made by the Heavenly Craftsman Institute, holding a hand cannon, machine gun, and shooting randomly in the air could kill thousands of barbarian race soldiers. How could they fight? Not to mention the barbarian race. Even the demon race couldn't win against the people of the Yonko, and they kept retreating. Now that Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian had come to the Sin State Temple, they wanted to see how the barbarian race's momentum was and whether they could still pose a threat to the great Yonko court. But now they were even more shocked. In the center of the Sin State, in the bottomless sea of sin, the demonic chi had almost dissipated. Although there were demons coming out from time to time, they were killed once they came out. Even the god-level demon gods had retreated and didn't dare to come out. Not only that, but now in the depths of the bottomless sea of sin, there was a transmission array built. The people of the court and nobles could enter the demon area through the transmission array, killing demons everywhere, building up merits, and making a fortune at the same time. The demons of the demon race could also be bought and sold. They were excellent materials and slaves. In other words, it wasn't the demon race invading, but the Yonko invading the demon area. At this moment, Gu Tanjian suddenly said, "The world can't be shaken. Even if you and I are the reincarnations of the infinite sword and the infinite blade, we can't do anything." Sai, he was actually the reincarnation of the infinite sword, ranked first among the 36 infinite treasures, with the strongest attack and the most killing ability. It was no wonder that the great spirit god would do this. He fully supported him and even gave him a gourd of holy dragon chi. And Gu Changjian was actually the reincarnation of the infinite blade. The combination of the sword and the saber was the way of war. The great spirit god also lost. He failed in the depths of the Dragon Gate of Untainted Land. His plan to conquer the Dragon Gate of Untainted Land was completely destroyed by Gu Qinsha. Gu Changjian said, although he didn't die in the hands of Gu Qinsha, he suffered a great loss. Even the talisman that we gave him by transferring the chi of the infinite blade and the infinite sword was destroyed. Instead, Gu Qinsha could follow the clues and find out where our foundation is. This is very disadvantageous for us. No, I think it's a good thing. Gu Tanjian's face was as usual, but he was happy. For us, Gu Qinsha is terrible, but the most terrible is the great spirit god himself. He always wants to devour us, to complete his great plan. Now he is forced to die. Although he won't die, I'm afraid it will take some time for him to resurrect. We could take the opportunity to get rid of his control. Truly free and unfettered. You are the reincarnation of the infinite sword, and I am the reincarnation of the infinite blade. If we work together, we can control some of the world's power. Gu Changjian said, it's almost the 35th year of the heavenly talisman. Don't say that the world is at peace. The rule of the Calmness Deity Department is unshakable, and even the Heavenly Craftsman Institute is being suppressed. But there is still one more year. As long as we can endure it, the situation will change. In the 36th year of the heavenly talisman, everything will be different. In the 36th year of the heavenly talisman, it is said that a great tribulation will occur. This tribulation is probably a supreme tribulation that has never appeared in history. The days of the Calmness Deity Department will not be easy, but our days will not be easy either. Gu Tanjian frowned. How will we handle the tribulation with ease? This is a big problem. If the two of us work together, we can do something. Gu Changjian was ambitious. We are the first and second treasures of the endless 36 treasures. Other than the infinite heart, almost all the other treasures have to listen to our fate. As long as we control the infinite heart, we can control the situation. It's the new year. Everyone, 17 years will only get better. A 19-year-old girl masturbating on a live streaming platform exposed. Follow the official WeChat account. MainPie1. Long press for 3 seconds to copy, to watch online. Chapter 797. The boundless heart isn't easy to control. Gu Tanjian waved his hand. Now that Patriarch Heaven and Earth has revived, he's joined forces with the immortal master, Wan Senshi, the 3 celestial masters, the Dharma Saint, and Wu Dankong to refine the boundless heart of Xian Exan. It's to restrain us. There's no way the two of us can defeat so many old-timers. Besides, we can't rely on them right now. Once we join them, we'll be like sheep in a tiger's den, treated like fat meat. That's true. Right now, the number one faction is the Celestial Commerce Department. The second is the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha. The third is the alliance formed by these old-timers. And the fourth is the Great Spirit God. Now that the Great Spirit God has been injured, this faction has collapsed. In reality, there are three factions in this world. If we don't find a place to stay, we'll be in danger. Gu Changjian said, if the two of us can devour the Great Spirit God and obtain the Dragon Gate, we can establish a fourth faction. Right now, it's just these three factions. In the future, when the Great Tribulation changes, it'll be hard to say. The Divine Continent's fortuitous encounters are getting more and more intense, and heroes are emerging in large numbers. In my 36 years, it wouldn't be strange for a few more experts to emerge. Gu Chansha and the Celestial Commerce Department won't be able to completely control the situation, and they don't have the moral integrity to rule the Divine Continent. Gu Tanjian said, but we must obtain the Dragon Gate, and the Great Spirit God must also devour it and plot against it. It'll be the foundation of our faction. Apart from that, we need to pay attention to the commoners' talents, especially those reincarnated stars. Many of them haven't been plundered by the Celestial Commerce Department yet, and we can take advantage of them. That's right. Back then, the hundreds and thousands of stars reincarnated to bring chaos to the Yonko Empire. But now, not only is there no chaos, it's actually becoming more and more stable. However, these reincarnated stars still carry the mission of opposing the calming immortal department and will be used by us. Gu Changjian said, we have to make arrangements as soon as possible. Otherwise, as the 360 Common People's Marshals of the Celestial Tranquility Department become more and more powerful, the Divine Prefecture will truly be unshakable. Gu Qinsha has already cultivated to become a saint. Although the Common People's Marshal has already separated from him, his magical power can still be strengthened and refined, allowing the Common People's Marshal to obtain great benefits. If those Common People's Generals also become saints, then things will become really troublesome. Ancient sages are more than enough to manage the world, let alone 360 of them. Gu Tanjian said, let's go down the mountain and observe the weather. I've calculated one thing. I'm afraid there will be another reincarnated boundless treasure. It's our top priority to recruit fellow Taoists. That's right. At present, the Calming Immortal Department has already gathered all 14 boundless treasures. The 3 dukes and 8 marquises, Fong Lin, Wen Hong, and that useless F.A. Wuxian had his endless umbrella taken away. In addition, the endless heart is a profound heart, and you and I are the reincarnations of the endless sword and endless saber. In total, there are 17 boundless treasures reincarnated. Of the 36, 19 have yet to appear. If we can gather all the reincarnations of these 19 boundless treasures, then our chances of establishing a power will increase by 90%. You should know that we are the first and second boundless treasures, and we have an extremely strong attraction and suppressive power to other reincarnated people. Apart from the endless heart, we are the only ones. Most importantly, the endless heart is now divided into 9 parts, and its control is in chaos. The attraction of the two of us joining forces has completely surpassed the endless heart. This is our chance. We cannot let the reincarnations of the boundless treasures be taken away by the calming immortal department. As Gu Changjian spoke, there was a hint of anxiety in his tone. Don't worry. Although the calming immortal department has many boundless treasures, they are far from being able to display their full might. You must know that the calming immortal department's ideals are the exact opposite of the boundless treasures. The millions of stars descending into the world are to create chaos, to destroy the Yonko, or at least the calming immortal department's rule. Gu Tanjian wasn't worried at all. You swore to never surrender to the calming immortal department. In the end, Gu Chansha had no choice but to forcefully seize the endless umbrella, depriving Fa Wuxian of his powers and demoting him to a mortal. On the other hand, the 3 dukes and 8 marquises, Feng Lin, and even Wen Hong all worked for Gu Qinsha wholeheartedly because of the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor's reversal. But in the future, the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor will be at a disadvantage in the battle against the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao will sink, and the sun and moon will alternate. Under the influence of the boundless treasures, these people will betray the calming immortal department one by one and do many things that are extremely beneficial to us. That's only natural. Right now, I can feel the Boundless Saber's original intent incessantly influencing my thoughts, as if it wants me to do something big in the unseen world, Gu Changjian said. Let's go. Let's go for a stroll in Xin Prefecture City. You and I will use the Boundless Secret Art to sense it. Recently, there's been a new Boundless Treasure reincarnated in Xin Prefecture City. We can't miss it. Gu Tanjian's figure moved, and the two of them left the snow-covered mountain peak and arrived in Xin Prefecture City. A few years ago, Xin Prefecture City was already desolate and uninhabited, shrouded in devil qi. Only a few tyrannical soldiers and Buddhist experts of the Human Dragon League were stationed here. But now it was completely different. People came and went, and there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. Huge iron carriages whistled constantly, and flying boats rose and fell in the sky. The huge teleportation array in the center of the city flickered with light, and experts came out one after another. People formed groups and entered the devil domain through the teleportation array. They hunted devils, obtained wealth, and trained their martial techniques. Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian first arrived at the huge square in the center of Xin Prefecture City. This square had a circumference of 100 miles, and there were 9 teleportation arrays on it. Each array was hundreds of feet tall and dozens of feet wide, and there were people coming in and out of them at all times. On the square, there were countless stalls. Some sold devils, some sold weapons, some sold elixirs, and all kinds of talismans. There were also armors and protective gear, and all kinds of other things. In the past, because of the war between the barbarians, the trade center of the whole country had gathered at the border of the Great Stone Wall. But now, the war with the barbarians had gradually subsided, and the barbarians had been utterly defeated. The real war was concentrated in the bottomless sea of Xin in the center of Xin Prefecture. This war between humans and devils was many times larger than the war with the barbarians. Therefore, the economic and cultural center had once again shifted to the center of the divine continent. This was also the method of the calming immortal department. Gu Chansha comprehended the divine continent's secret technique and created the perfect divine continent. Thus, the divine continent once again shone with brilliance. Everyone, a newly minted ox-headed devil. I just captured you from the devil domain. You have already cultivated to the 4th transformation of the Tao realm, copper skin and iron bones. This is a rare general among the ox-headed devils. I've already used a talisman to refine his devil energy and planted a seed in his mind. As long as you drip a drop of blood on his forehead, he will become your loyal guard and will never betray you. Whether it's work, the yard, or even the fields, he will be a great helper. You can't miss this opportunity. The 7th generation of the Heavenly Craftsman Institute's new titanium alloy battle armor is no longer a humanoid dragon armor. Once you put it on, you will immediately become indestructible. You can exchange it for humanoid dragon pills and all kinds of devils. It would be best if it was a devil dragon. Flying sword, immortal flying sword obtained from an ancient well. After activating it, you can kill devils from 100 miles away. It can also restrain ghosts. Chalcedony, fresh chalcedony. All kinds of hawking voices rang out incessantly. In the past few decades, incomparably rare treasures were like cabbages in the market here. However, one could find many good things here. This place is really prosperous. Luck is like fire. Gu Tanjian's eyes shone with a strange luster. The human Dao Qi in the entire Xin province was bright red. It soared into the sky and broke through the void. No one knew where it went. The luck of the entire Sin province at every moment was much more than the luck of the entire divine prefecture in the past. From this, we can see how powerful the tranquil immortal department can be after gathering the chi of the world in their little Hongmeng tree. With each passing day, the gap between us and them grows larger and larger. No fortuitous encounter can make up for it. Gu Changjin's expression was very bad. However, it was fortunate that things like gathering the luck of the masses came quickly and dispersed quickly. The human heart was the most difficult to grasp. The people of the world might receive benefits from you one moment and call you a saint, but in the next, they might turn you into a devil tyrant. If we build a tall building, it will soon collapse. Indeed, grasping the human heart and gathering luck is extremely dangerous. The backlash of the human Tao will immediately lead to a tragic death, Gu Tanjian said. The human heart can only be borrowed. It cannot be truly used as a foundation. I also know which of the endless treasures reincarnations will appear today. Gu Changjian's spiritual sense had already spread out. All the details in the square, including the emotions of the experts, were all within his grasp. He was the reincarnation of the endless blade. When his spiritual sense spread out, even saints wouldn't be able to find any traces of him. Be careful, don't act rashly. Gu Tanjian warned. Sin Province City is filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. We have to be careful. As the foundation of the divine prefecture, the tranquil immortal department has gathered 10 of the common people's generals here to prevent them from retaliating. Apart from that, there is also the common people's marquis observing in the dark. The common people's king will also descend sometimes. With our current strength, we won't even be afraid of celestial venerables. However, the tranquil immortal department has refined the Xingqiang family into the divine prefecture guard. If they capture us, we won't be able to escape. So, we have to raise our strength. Gu Changjian said fiercely, right now, both you and I are at the divine level, the 32 transformations of a single thought connecting to the heavens. If we both step into the saint level, our battle prowess will increase by tens or even hundreds of times. Even if we both step into saint realm, we won't be their match. Unless we both become celestial venerables, only then will we have some confidence. Gu Tanjian knew how terrifying Gu Qinsha was. Of course, if we obtain the Great Spirit God and the Primordial Dragon Gate, we will become celestial venerables right away. It might even be possible for us to become celestial venerables. Happy New Year! 17 years for all of you to be rich and have your dreams come true. Notification. This site recommends a free app saying goodbye to all advertisements. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. AppSid, press down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 798. You and I still can't unleash the true power of the inexhaustible blade and the inexhaustible sword. The inexhaustible sword is the number 1 treasure among the 36 treasures. Rumor has it that it can sever the Milky Way, shatter the primal chaos, and slay the heavens with ease. Its power is even above that of the immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. Gu Changjian's eyes flickered with a cold light. If a calamity befalls the world, we should kill the general of common people of the Department of Calmness at the first opportunity and seize his fortune. The general of common people governs the world in an orderly manner, and the number of people gathered on him is unimaginable. If we can seize all of them, it's the same as eating up a large portion of the Department of Calmness's achievements. This is something we have to consider. Of course, now that the Department of Calmness is governing the world, basically all matters big and small are decided by the general of common people. Because this general has no selfish motives, his calculations are exquisite, and his judgment is unparalleled. He has already become the symbol of justice and righteousness in the hearts of the people. I've observed carefully, and these people have already gathered into something similar to the position of a true God within their bodies. It's no small matter. As Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian strolled along, the plaza was a hubbub of voices. Crooked fish and honest folk mingled together, and experts came forth in large numbers. However, the two of them constantly sensed that there was an enormous aura lingering in the distant government, constantly watching this place. No one could play any tricks. The entire Xin province, every household, every person, and the changes in the geography seemed to be enveloped by something similar to a Skynet. Countless data was gathered by this Skynet and gathered in one place. It was analyzed, brewed, and operated, thereby coming up with the best plan to govern the world. Fortunately, Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian had profound cultivation and could avoid the Skynet's envelopment and data collection. Otherwise, the two of them would have long since been targeted and the data and information gathered in the Little Hongmeng tree. Impressive, impressive. The entire divine continent is now being overseen by the great marshal of the common people. Then, they're connected and gradually set up a heavenly net in the unseen world. This heavenly net can see through even the smallest detail. Big and small matters are all clearly visible to the naked eye. Every movement in the world is always within the grasp of the Celestial Tranquility Department. No small movements can escape such changes. This is the true monitoring of the world. Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian increasingly felt that they could not act blindly without thinking. Experts who cultivate to Tao Realm Transformation 15 can use the heaven eye to float in the sky. They can send their soul into the sky, and all sorts of situations within 1,000 miles will appear clearly in their eyes. Not to mention a deity-level expert. It's not surprising that the Tranquil Immortal Department could do this, Gu Tanjian said. In the past, even if the emperor had such influence like the martial emperor, he wouldn't dare to do this because many of the aristocratic clans wouldn't allow the emperor to do this, as it was the same as offending them. But now, the aristocratic clans don't have any temper and can only allow the calming immortal department to do as they please. Especially the Wu clan, they have completely switched sides to the calming immortal department. The martial saint had revived and cultivated to become an Empyrean. Now, he had become an honored guest of the calming immortal department and a high-level big shot, setting an example for many aristocratic families. Furthermore, recently, Gu Chansha had even resurrected Chang Yuzhou. Because of this, many aristocratic families wanted to rely on them. This was because the calming immortal department could help them resurrect their sage ancestors. I think that if you could revive Heavenly Lord Tai of Tai Fantasy Sect in a few days, your overall strength would be further improved. Gu Changjian analyzed step by step. Under such surveillance, I'm afraid that even if we roped in the reincarnation of an infinite treasure, we wouldn't be able to escape the surveillance of the calming immortal department. Infinite treasures are formed by the core willpower of the heaven realm. It's still too early for the calming immortal department to control them completely. I pretended to be courteous with the great spirit god and obtained some real secrets from him. As long as we encounter the reincarnation of an infinite treasure, I can activate the secret method of the heaven realm to communicate with my aura and fate energy. Together, we can conceal ourselves. No matter how powerful the calming immortal department is, they definitely won't be able to discover us. Furthermore, every time we gather an infinite treasure, our cultivation base will multiply. When we form a formation, we will be invincible. Gu Tanjian was really confident. I didn't expect that elder brother would also plot against the great spirit god in secret. You're really something. Gu Changjian was secretly shocked. In truth, he and Gu Tanjian were working together to plot against each other. The two of them appeared to be united, but at heart they were divided. Deep in their hearts, they both wanted to steal the other's infinite treasures. That's nothing. The great spirit god is known to be invincible when it comes to scheming and scheming. However, he isn't invincible. This time, I can see that in front of Gu Chansha, he was still at a disadvantage. He used all of his techniques, but in the end, he was forced into a corner. Gu Tanjian secretly looked around, pretending to be a disciple of an influential family. He looked around the plaza, as if he wanted to buy something good. There were also many inexplicable items obtained from ancient ruins in the demon realm. They seemed useless, but in the eyes of those who knew what they were great treasures. Many experts would come here to pick up the leftovers, never getting tired of it. At that moment, a woman entered Gu Tanjian's line of sight. This woman was very young, not even 20 years old. She had a beautiful face, and she wore a light muslin dress with gold embroidery and red embroidery on the inside. She looked extremely otherworldly. This woman's face was cold, like ice that would not melt for 10,000 years. She looked like she was 1,000 miles away. Moreover, she wore a human dragon ring on her finger. This ring was a spatial ring created by the calming immortal department. It had its own space inside and could store many things. It was the best treasure to enter the demon realm. The human dragon ring was extremely valuable. Even ordinary aristocratic families would find it difficult to purchase it from the calming immortal department. It wasn't that the calming immortal department didn't want to sell it, but the price was too high. Those who could afford the human dragon ring were almighty heroes. This woman brazenly wore the human dragon ring, attracting the attention of many people. There were also many vicious and cunning people who came to the Sin province. As the saying goes, the human heart is unfathomable. However, no one dared to make a move. Firstly, this woman definitely had supreme skill. Secondly, the laws of the Yonko were very strict. Anyone who broke the law would be killed immediately. Not to mention ordinary cultivators, even celestial venerables would find it hard to escape punishment. Ever since the news spread that the number one vicious person of the ancient divine prefecture, the Xingqiang clan, who had torn apart many ancient emperors, had been suppressed and refined into a magic treasure by the calming immortal department, countless cultivators and experts in the world had completely submitted to the imperial court. They behaved themselves and didn't dare to break any laws. In addition, there were also many righteous people among the people who voluntarily protected the imperial court's dignity. Of course, no matter how strong the calming immortal department was, there were still treacherous and vicious people in the world. It was impossible to ban all of them. If all of them were eliminated, then it would mean that all living beings were truly united. Gu Qinsha would be able to enter an inconceivable realm. What? Is there a problem with this woman? Gu Changjian secretly asked. Why didn't I sense anything? I don't think she's the reincarnation of the infinity treasure. If I'm not wrong, she's the reincarnation of the infinity needle. The infinity needle is small and sharp, able to break through all forbidden arts and obstacles. Any defensive magical arts would find it hard to escape the stab of the needle. More importantly, the needle is soundless and traceless, and it's the hardest to guard against. Usually, when you fight with someone, it'll take your opponent's life in an instant, and you won't even know who your opponent is. Other than that, the needle can also treat illnesses and stimulate one's potential. This girl has already awakened the transformation of the infinity needle, so no one can detect it. Now, the infinity heart has split into 9, and they're all scheming against each other, so the ability to sense it has been greatly reduced. In this world, I'm the only one who can sense it. A smile appeared on Gu Xingjian's face as he strolled toward the girl. The woman, who was as cold as an ice mountain, had just come out of the devil's domain. She was looking around, wanting to buy something, and at the same time, she was selling what she had obtained from the devil's domain. Gu Tanjian walked up to her. Miss, I see that you just came out of the devil's domain with the human dragon ring. You must have captured many demons. Can we talk in detail? Oh, the woman looked at Gu Tanjian. What level of demon do you want to buy as puppet subordinates? Demons of the Tao realm and above were easy to sell. Most importantly, demons of the Tao realm and above were best at planting, guarding, and operating spirit gathering formations. Nowadays, many fields in the world were no longer ordinary fields, but spirit fields with spirit gathering arrays. Spirit gathering arrays were not something that an ordinary person could manage. One had to be proficient in the art of spirit gathering at all times. Feng Shui, array formations, layout, and operation were all hard work and meticulous work. The higher the level, the better. What demons do you have? Gu Tianjin looked rich and overbearing. I have demons of the spiritual power realm. Do you want them? The woman said coldly. She didn't have any emotions at all, like she was born like a piece of ice that wouldn't melt. It seems like you have higher-level demons. Gu Tianjin wasn't surprised and asked instead. This caused the woman to be slightly startled. To any expert, demons who cultivated spiritual power were at Tao realm 20 transformation gathering and dispersing. Demons at such a realm weren't afraid of the machines of the Celestial Craft Institute and could cause all sorts of disasters. Even aristocratic families would find it hard to control them. Gu Tianjin actually didn't care at all. Naturally, the woman was tempted. How strong do you want? The woman asked coldly once more. How strong are they? Gu Tianjin smiled. With your strength, you can definitely conquer them. I won't beat around the bush. I can work with you on a deeper level. Who are you? Killing intent appeared from the woman's body. Don't be impatient. This place is being closely monitored by the Calming Immortal Department. If you reveal even the slightest sign, the Calming Immortal Department will detect it, and you'll probably be in big trouble. Gu Shengjian waved his hand. Do you think you can resist the Calming Immortal Department's capture? It seems like you know something. The woman frowned. Since that is the case, then let's head deep into the demon region to talk. The depths of the demon region, their strength isn't there. While speaking, the ice-cold woman turned around and stepped into the teleportation formation. Gu Tianjin looked at Gu Changjian and nodded his head before following. A 19-year-old girl masturbating was exposed. Follow WeChat. MamePie 1. Long press 3 seconds to copy, to watch online. Chapter 799. The three of them arrived at the depths of the demon domain. The demon domain was incomparably vast, and it was divided into many layers of worlds. In ancient times, it was also known as the multi-layered hell. Until now, no one had been able to find out exactly how many layers there were in the demon domain. Even God Maha, Immortal Master, Primordial Heart Devil, and other rulers of the demon domain didn't know exactly how big the demon domain was. After the three of them entered the depths of the demon domain, they all used their transformation techniques to pass through the layers of the demon domain space-time, arriving at the true boiling devil chi and the pitch-black ink-like core of the demon domain. The devils living here are all extremely tyrannical. Gu Tianjin was the first to stop. Miss, in this place, the Calming Immortal Department's attention can no longer detect us. Let's talk openly. So the Infinite Sword and Infinite Saber have appeared. The icy cold woman had already seen through the source of Gu Tianjin and Gu Changjian's power. The Infinite Needle, if I'm not wrong, Miss, is the reincarnation of this treasure. A true heavenly sword actually appeared behind Gu Tianjin. This heavenly sword gathered all the aura of the Tao of Kings, tyrannical Tao, sage Tao, heavenly Tao, divine Tao, and all the Taos of the myriad Taos. The true power of this sword was slightly revealed. The devil chi in the surroundings that was as dense as ink gradually settled down, becoming clear and turbid. None of the devil chi dared to approach this sword. Wherever this sword went, everything would submit. Even the most terrifying devil god could only tremble in fear in front of this sword and prostrate on the ground. This was the Sword of Infinity, the number one treasure among the infinite treasures. The Tao of the sword was the true Tao of slaughter, the leader of all weapons. This sword could be said to be the strongest sword in the universe. The moment this sword's aura was released, even sages would retreat. Even the icy cold woman took a few steps back, unable to withstand the Sword of Infinity's aura. As expected, it's the Sword of Infinity. A long needle also appeared behind the icy cold woman. This needle was extremely sharp, capable of piercing through everything. However, the tip of the needle seemed to contain boundless vitality. The greatest use of needles was to pierce, mend, and heal. We endless treasures can sense each other, said Meng Hao. I could sense that you were about to be born, Mississippi. That's why I came to reunite with you. The 36 endless treasures are true brothers, and we have to stick together to overcome the tribulation and transcend. Gu Tanjian replied, I am the leader of the endless 36 treasures. I have a duty to take care of my other brothers and sisters. We're joining forces? The boundless treasure and I are actually separate. I am me, and the boundless treasure is the boundless treasure. It's just that I've obtained this treasure. I don't think I'm the treasure's reincarnation. You said that the boundless treasure's reincarnations will gather together, but I don't think so. I'm used to being free and unfettered. If I'm willing to gather, there are 14 boundless treasures in the Celestial Tranquility Department. I can directly seek refuge with them and immediately become a high-ranking member. Miss, you're wrong, said Gu Changjian. Gu Changjian said, and a divine blade appeared behind him. It was extremely unpredictable, and wherever the blade pointed, it would slice through space-time and sever time. This was the blade of infinity. The reason why the 36 infinity treasures were born is because we wanted to deal with the Celestial Commerce Department. If we shirk our responsibilities, the Tao of Heaven will strip us of our gift, and it will be too late for regrets. The 14 boundless treasures of the Celestial Tranquility Department will eventually fly away to find a new reincarnation. We can't let that happen. We brothers have the Infinity Blade and the Infinity Sword, which are the number 1 and number 2 treasures of the 36 treasures. Therefore, you should listen to us, Mississippi. By this point, Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian had already formed a pincer attack. The two of them could tell that the woman's words indicated that she didn't want to join them. In that case, they might as well take the treasure and assimilate her. If Gu Chansha can assimilate Fa Wuxian, it's not a big deal for me to assimilate this woman. Killing intent appeared in Gu Tanjian's heart. In truth, he wasn't looking for the reincarnation of the boundless treasures to gather these people. He wanted to kill them all, assimilate them, and make them his own. His thinking was similar to that of Gu Tiansha. Gu Tiansha also wanted to obtain all the boundless treasures and then gain control of the heaven realm and finally become the number 1 person. Seems like if I don't agree to join you, you'll kill me? The cold woman looked at the pincer attack, and her expression turned serious. This is the strength of the Infinity Sword and Infinity Blade. This is different from what I imagined. I wonder what misimagined us to be like. Gu Changjian grinned hideously. We have come to this world in accordance with the will of the heavenly way, which is to cleanse the roots and kill the traitors, especially the inner part of the endless 36 treasures. Lady, you are not respecting the will of the heavenly way, and you don't think that you are the reincarnation of the endless 36 treasures. For example, you were conferred a title by the imperial court, but in the blink of an eye, you don't recognize yourself as an official of the imperial court. Is there such a logic in the world? The two of us brothers are unparalleled in saber and sword, and also contain the Tao of punishment. Whoever doesn't respect the will of the heavenly Tao must die. I'm afraid it's not the will of the heavenly Tao, but the will of the two of you. The cold woman said to Gu Changjian, the two of you are actually fighting against each other, wanting to devour each other and obtain the boundless treasures for yourselves. If both of you are injured in the battle with me, who will benefit? Little girl, you know how to sow discord. Gu Tanjian laughed out loud. This is of no use to me at all. Our alliance is stronger than gold. Not only are we brothers related by blood, but we have also experienced many life and death situations. If you don't resist, we can sign a contract and work together to repent. Otherwise, as the boundless treasures, if you don't fulfill your responsibilities, I'm sorry, but we can only punish you on behalf of the heavens and take away your boundless treasures. If you want to kill me and take my treasures, just say it. Why do you have to be so dignified? The cold woman took a step back. I originally thought that the boundless sword and the boundless saber were real men, so I wanted to meet you. I didn't expect you to be such wretched people. How disappointing. Your actions are not worthy of the boundless sword and the boundless saber. It seems that you will lose them very soon. Let's see who loses them first. Gu Tanjian made his move. With a flick of his finger, majestic sword chi spread out in all directions, forming a world of swords in the demonic realm. Gu Changjian didn't make a move. Firstly, he knew that Gu Tanjian could completely suppress this woman. Secondly, he wanted to wait for an opportunity. When the woman was going all out, he would suddenly attack and take away the Infinity Needle. Although his boundless saber was powerful, it was still ranked second and was being suppressed by Gu Tanjian. If he could get the Infinity Needle and borrow the power of the two boundless treasures, he would be able to fight against Gu Tanjian. He wouldn't be in danger all the time. He knew that Gu Tanjian wasn't a good person. He was cruel and merciless, even more so than the most vicious demons. As long as he seized the opportunity, he would be able to devour and refine him. There are no moral restraints at all. Break. Facing the Infinity Sword, the cold woman's body moved. She had already become one with the Infinity Needle. All the light was retracted. In an instant, the light of the swords of infinity was shaken. The Infinity Needle isn't ranked high, but it's good at attacking. Gu Shengjian smiled coldly. Logically speaking, no treasures or array formations should be able to trap the Endless Needle. But you've encountered the Endless Sword, the #1 treasure. If I let you escape just like that, you'll definitely die. If I let you escape, wouldn't people say that I don't deserve my reputation? As he spoke, the Infinity Sword suddenly erupted with countless sword light, collapsing inwards and completely suppressing the Infinity Needle. In an instant, the Infinity Needle was forced to reveal the form of the cold woman again. Miss, quickly capture him. You still have a chance to live. Gu Changjian smiled. Otherwise, I'll kill you today. There'll be no chance of survival. Oomph. The cold woman suddenly activated some secret technique. Suddenly, a violent wave of core chi shot up into the sky, strengthening the Infinity Needle. With this boost, the power unleashed by the Endless Needle almost doubled, and it immediately loosened the sword light of the ancient bullet sword by quite a bit. Infinity Pill? You actually have an infinity treasure in your body. How is this possible? At this time, Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian were shocked at first, then overjoyed. No wonder you didn't surrender to us. You still have such a trump card. Haha, but the Infinity Pill can't withstand it. Let's get the Infinity Treasure together. At this time, Gu Changjian made his move. He activated the Infinity Blade. At this time, the saber and sword harmony. With a creak, a huge force enveloped the cold woman, almost killing her immediately. Book, tree, palace, pen. At this time, the cold woman's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent again. Whoosh! A book appeared in her body. This book was all-encompassing and contained the secrets of the heaven realm. It was another infinity treasure, the Book of Infinity. Then a huge tree rose. It was the Tree of Infinity, one of the 36 infinity treasures. Another palace rose violently. It was the Palace of Infinity. Another large pen appeared. This was the Infinity Pen. A huge pen appeared. It wrote the spring and autumn and the history of the heaven realm. At this moment, a total of 6 infinity treasures appeared in the cold woman's body, condensing into one. It was like the birth and death of the universe. It shook and expanded, causing the power of the Infinity Sword and Infinity Blade to split apart. Apsid, hold down for 3 seconds to copy. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.